Prologue. Waking up, Naruto found himself in for a shock of a lifetime. There, in front of him was a rattlesnake. The only reason Naruto knew what type of snake because of the noise that its tail was making. Naruto could thank his academy sensei Irika for teaching him that. Once Naruto took the time to rub the sleep dust out of his eyes and take a good look at the snake, he noticed that this wasn't a regular rattlesnake. Oh no, the rattlesnake that was on the end of his bed, on top of his legs, in fact happened to be much larger than the normal one. No, this was no mere rattlesnake. In Naruto's eyes, this was a legitimate predator of the animal kingdom with very few able to take it on and survive, let alone win. Not that he had a fear of snakes, but he had a definite shit my pants moments looking at this particular snake. With its whole body curled up, it gave off the impression that it was sleeping. Naruto, however, knew that it was far from that. In fact, it was the complete opposite. It was no doubt ready to pounce on its prey and inject its poison fangs into its dinner. That sucks because I'm probably dinner. He was the prime pick on the menu. Talk about luck. Just when he thought that things couldn't get any worse, they somehow always managed to do so. Now finally fully awake thanks to all of the adrenaline coursing through his body, Naruto realized that uncoiled this snake it would be 10 meters long and was 45 centimeters wide. If anyone from his graduating class ever found out that a little wee came out, then the very minor social status that he had would have been instantly shattered. To counteract the fact that snakes had very weak eyesight, Shakuro opened her mouth and used her sensory glands on her tongue. It was to no surprise that she could smell the radiating fear that was coming off of Naruto. It was coming in large amounts, though she did not expect to smell the small stench of urine coming off of the blonde-haired boy. Amused by the fact that she could make children pee themselves, a smirk graced her smooth face as she was proud that she could get that amount of fear out of her prey. Deciding that she should nip it in the bud and get on to why she was here, Shakuro spoke in a tone that told Naruto that this snake was a female snake. "You are Naruto Uzumaki, correct?" the purple rattlesnake hissed, though not in a tone that spelled danger for Naruto. This though she already knew, Shakuro's father had specifically told her to seek the Kyuubi Jinchuriki out. He was the one who had been brimming with traits that would make a great snake summoner. She just wanted to see what type of person he was. Naruto, not being one who was good with his manners, spoke his mind when it came whatever he was feeling. With an even more shocked expression due to finding out the snake could talk, Naruto numbly said the only thing he could think of. "Holy shit, a talking snake!" Naruto shouted as he looked down at the snake that still had not removed the proud smirk that was on her face. Shakuro sighed. From what her father's informants had gathered, this kid was someone who did not have any manners at all. Admittedly, when she first heard the report into how the possible future snake summoner was like personality-wise, she laughed it off and thought that he couldn't be that bad. It was. Calming down the emotions of anger despite being directed at herself for foolishly believing that Naruto would at least have some manners, Shakuro responded to Naruto's statement. "Yes, now are you or are you not Naruto Uzumaki?" Shakuro asked as there was a hiss to each of her words. Naruto, somewhat forgetting just who exactly he was talking to, spoke in his usual tone. Normally, Naruto would be a little more pleasant when speaking to people in the hopes of making some friends, but after what happened yesterday, well, let's just say that he wasn't in a good mood and talking wasn't something that was going to help it improve. "Yeah, what's it to ya, huh?" the blonde-haired Jinchuriki said in a grouchy tone that implied that he did not want to be spoken to, which was true. He indeed did not want to speak with anyone today, not even his female teammate Sakura Haruno, who he had a major crush on. Even though she did catch the tone in which Naruto spoke to her, it did not matter to her because she had a mission. Shakuro had been sent by her father, Manda, the king of all serpents. That meant that she would complete it, no matter how crappy of a mission it was. Not bothering to answer Naruto's question, Shakuro replied by answering with a statement of her own. Now Naruto, seeing the slight twitch in his left eyebrow, told her that it was something that she shouldn't be saying. Too bad for Naruto though, she knew that she could win any battle that the two had and win quite comfortably. This meant that she would be able to get away with using it. Continuing on from the slight pause as she gazed on at Naruto's response to her question, Shakuro spoke up. "Now Naruto," Shakuro purposefully said just to see the eyebrow of Naruto twitch before getting down to business. "We have been watching you for a while now, Naruto," Shakuro said as she wanted to see the expression on the face of Naruto. Indeed, she got a reaction out of the blonde-haired boy. She watched the confused expression form on Naruto's face before it settled into an angry sneer. Why are you spying on me? Huh, what VEI ever done to make someone, let alone a giant talking snake, want to spy on me? Naruto wasn't sure whether or not to be flattered that it meant someone had a vested interest in him, or worried because it meant that someone might want to watch him fail. Slithering closer to Naruto, now so she was on his lap instead of where his feet, the purple rattlesnake spoke in a calm and collected tone that she hoped displayed compassion. It wasn't enough to reassure him that she wasn't going to kill him, it was just that it made him know that she wasn't going to kill him, yet. We have been watching you for a while because you have shown some traits as a human that make you worthy to become a member of the Snake Clan. Shakuro said, to which made Naruto exceedingly curious. Confused beyond all belief, Naruto asked the rattlesnake on his lap as to what traits he had shown. What do you mean I've shown traits that you find would make me a good member of the Snake Clan? Naruto pleaded. A burning desire to be a part of a family, whatever that looked like, pulsed from every pore in his body. Shakuro was angry. She was angry because someone who had high stature like her was getting spoken to as if she was some peasant commoner. She was the goddamn princess of the Snake Clan. If anything, it should be her looking down on Naruto, not the other way round. Squashing those feelings though, she replied. You have shown that you are smart with your pranks, albeit in an unconventional way. These pranks have shown that you are smart in planning your attack against whatever it is you are preying on, Naruto-kun. Shakuro said, to which was taken back a little bit and blushed bashfully. No one, absolutely no one, not even the two people he cared about most, being Irika and the Hokage, complimented his pranks. Instead, they told him pranking was juvenile and had no benefit whatsoever on his dream of becoming the Hokage of Konoha. Hearing someone validate that there were positive aspects to it, the blonde-haired boy was proud. Again, with the information her father had given her, Shakuro watched as Naruto digested the compliment. I have him right where I want him. Was it morally bad to prey on the emotional trauma of an orphan child? Yes. Did she care? No. Plus, he's going to benefit from this anyway. You have shown admirable amounts of cunning and trickery when you fool your capturers. The fact that you had such limited training yet have achieved a high level of stealth is quite remarkable. As Shakuro finished, she was once again greeted with the sight of Naruto blushing. The blonde-haired boy found the compliment an uncommon but welcoming feeling. You are shrewd in the way that you use your currency. You have had to learn how to budget from a young age. Too many children take for granted their parents. It went unspoken that Naruto had no choice in the matter. Regardless, Naruto blushed, receiving another compliment in such a short space of time. When you learn the Ninpu, Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, ninja arts, shadow clone jutsu, in under 3 hours, it showed that not only are you able to learn fast if you apply yourself, it also showed that you had the determination to be the best shinobi that you could possibly be. The serpentine creature stated to Naruto, who looked proud knowing that he had the biggest determination compared to all of his other classmates. Yet again, Shakuro was stroking the values of hard work that Naruto spouted. Knowing that it was best to get some traits ingrained into Naruto early before anyone else could try and sink their fangs into the boy, Shakuro spoke up, desperate to move the conversation along. Naruto was annoying her. Despite what the large majority of people thought, Naruto was aware that he still had room to improve. He wasn't the second coming of the Hokage, as much as sometimes he wished he was. The biggest trait you have is your unwavering desire to accomplish all of your goals. No matter what happens, you are able to face a problem head-on, confident that you will be able to achieve your goal. You are aware that you may fail, however you will keep trying to no matter what. The goal to become the Hokage is a display of this desire. Naruto promptly let a few tears down his face because he had never had anyone say such kind things to him before. Sure, the Hokage told him that he could become the Hokage if he set his mind to it, same with Tuchi and Ayam, but to have the backing? This was new and scary. For the blue-eyed boy it was truly overwhelming. Seeing that it was a little bit too much for Naruto to handle, she knew that Naruto needed a shoulder to cry on, and it was something that she was going to provide. Slithering up to Naruto, Shakuro uncoiled herself and wrapped her warm body around the small frame of Naruto Uzumaki. It wasn't done though as if it was done in something that her father would do to his prey. No, this was the way that a mother snake would do to comfort her. Once it took Naruto about 5 minutes to get his crying under control, he felt the cool feeling that Shakudo's skin provided and he wondered why the snake was doing this for him. The anxiety seeped out of his body. Tension released and he watched in shock and horror as the snake left him.
Now I must bid you goodwill, Naruto-kun.
I have to go back to my father and report that I have spoken to you and told you that you will be able to join the Snake Clan provided that you improve yourself as a person to be someone who won't tarnish the name of our clan.
Shakuro mentioned, not giving him her full attention.
In his haste to keep the company of the snake, Naruto asked all but screamed, "Wait a second.
Can you tell me how I can improve my chances on becoming a member of the clan? And when you will tell me whether or not if I've made it into the clan?"
Naruto desperately said because he had decided in that moment that he wanted to be a part of the clan. The way that Shakuro had reassured Naruto that he could become the Hokage was something that the boy was incredibly grateful for. It seemed pointless of her to go and tarnish her previous effort, but if it gave Naruto a fighting chance of gaining acceptance, then she would merit him with the information that he desired. After all, she had helped bring his spirits up, so why not go the whole distance? The payoff was going to be 1,000-fold. Choosing her words carefully to solidify Naruto's dependency on the Shakuro started speaking as she worded what came out of her mouth carefully. "Well, Naruto, before I start, get a pen and a piece of paper in case you forget what you were trying to learn. You can go back and revise your notes instead of stagnating in your development, both as a person as well as a shinobi." Shakuro said, to which Naruto pulled off the blankets and got up and went over to the chest of drawers and pulled out a pen and a piece of paper. The Kyuubi Jinchuriki was eagerly awaited to hear what he had to write down.
"Alright, the first thing that you need to work on is your patience. You are far too hot-headed, which is bad for not only being a ninja but also as a person. A Hokage needs to be able to analyze every bit of information rather than using the first bit he finds. The consequences of making the wrong decision will be fatal.
Make no mistake, the lives of all of Konoha's residency rest on your shoulders if you become Hokage," the purple snake said to Naruto.
Gulping at the seriousness in what he had just heard, Naruto nodded and quickly wrote down that he needed to have patience. "Another thing that you need to work on is your emotional intelligence.
Snakes are cunning, smart, able to maneuver people around them to achieve their goals.
Having low emotional intelligence allows you to be manipulated by those around and above you. At this current stage, your emotional intelligence is lacking. We will not be having the human that represents our clan to be someone who is not emotionally intelligent. You will be representing the whole clan if you are successful. Your actions and how you interact with the world is a representation on us."
Naruto, being an orphan, did not have a good concept of humiliation. He didn't care if he embarrassed himself, it was not as if someone would care. The looming potential of having a family, however dysfunctional a talking snake family was, Naruto didn't want to fuck this up. He wanted them to look at him with pride, not disdain. "The next thing is your choice of attire. To me it shows that you are an immature little kid, a little kid who doesn't care about his shinobi career. Whether you like it or not, appearances matter. People are going to judge you based on your appearance. How you dress yourself affects your status in society as well as your potential success on a mission. The Snake Clan have a high standard of dress and we expect our summoner to also represent us to the highest degree." Naruto flinched at the comment. It was hard to find clothes that he could afford, plus he truly loved the color of orange.
Shakuro did not need to state just how much she despised Orochimaru and his fashion choices. "You do not need to completely change your clothing style. I know how much you like the color orange," Shakuro said as she looked dryly at the choice of clothes that Naruto had chosen to wear.
"What you do need to change, however, is so that you have a style that suits being a ninja, not a civilian.
That is not the right way to be going about gaining respect from others.
The best ways to get attention and respect is through behaving in a proper conduct and being a strong shinobi,"
Shakuro said, to which the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki rapidly nodded as he now knew that people respected Sasuke more than him.
Sasuke, in their eyes, was a better shinobi and carried himself with more dignity. "Above all, knowledge is the most important skill to have, yet it is the area that I find you lacking the most.
You are creative when it comes to using what you already know. However, your general knowledge and your knowledge of the requirements that a Hokage needs to know is very poor. It's something that needs to be addressed immediately.
Now normally Shakuro would not look at Naruto because she knew that he would be busy writing down on the paper. When her very precise and sharp hearing detected that there was no sound of the metal tip connecting down onto the paper, she turned around curiously. It was then that the purple rattlesnake felt a bit of guilt and remorse for what she had just said. She could guess what was going through the mind of the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. It was not her responsibility to coddle the genin. In her eyes and the eyes of the shinobi system, Naruto was an adult. With her piece said, she slithered to the door, leaving the Uzumaki with a lot to think about. "Thank you, Snake, I really appreciate what you have just done for me today. You have given me a lot to think about," Naruto graciously said to the snake, who just nodded in its own fashion and headed for the window. Before it could get there, Naruto spoke up once more. "Excuse me," Naruto said as he tried to practice using manners for the first time in a long time. The last time he had done that was when he wanted to gain access to the library. "You never told me what your name was. Can you please give me something better to call you rather than just Snake?" Naruto asked as politely as he could without any real training in the art. Impressed by the tone of voice and also the words that Naruto used when he spoke to her, Shakuro decided that Naruto deserved at least know her name. "My name is Shakuro, you may call me Shakuro-sama," the serpentine creature said, to which Naruto nodded and also wrote down on the piece of paper so he didn't forget. He at least tries. Shakuro, Naruto whispered, feeling how the name felt on his lips. Without wanting to spoon-feed the boy, Shakuro spoke once more. "Naruto, there is one last piece of advice that I will give you before I go." To which Naruto stared at her purple scales and the yellow eyes which had a slit down the center of them. "You still have yet to learn all you can about the ninpu, Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Ninja arts, shadow clone jutsu," the purple reptilian cryptically said before she slithered down the other side of the open window thanks to her skills in chakra control. "Wait a minute, she never told me what time they would be coming to tell me whether or not I can become a part of their clan. Oh well, I guess that I just have to be ready for whenever they come," Naruto mused to himself. With a pep in his step that hadn't been seen for a long time, Naruto headed towards the library. Luckily for Naruto, the genin remembered the piece of paper just as he was about to lock the door to his apartment. After heading back inside, Naruto got the paper and left with a newfound determination. XXX. 1 month had passed since Naruto had gotten a visit from the princess of the Snake Clan. Looking back at where he was at as a person a month ago compared to where he was now, the blonde was incredibly proud. Proud as he saw just how far he had come from an immature brat to what he personally considered an adult. Now, not only by the law, but also by the way that he was a 13-year-old thinking this though. The Konoha General Shinobi and Civilian Library was the biggest storage of books and novels for people of all backgrounds, ages, and skill levels to read in the whole entire Shinobi elemental continent. This was a record that was proudly boasted by the people who ran the establishment, and it was something that Naruto fully intended to capitalize on. Hours upon hours of his free time, the genin spent in the library attempting to soak up as much information as possible. He was picking up all of the information he should have learnt at the academy and refreshing himself on what he kinda knew. Patience was one of the main improvements over the past month, with Tucci and Iam being able to see it firsthand. Now Naruto didn't speak whilst having a mouthful of food. It may not seem like much, but it was honest work. As much as Naruto was starting to realize that Ichiraku ramen might not be the healthiest thing for him to eat all the time, the emotional validation and happiness he got from being there couldn't be understated enough. It was his happy place. It was an eye-opener for Iam. Though she did not comment on it at the time, she did raise an eyebrow and directed it at Naruto, who was blissfully unaware of the gesture as he was too busy focusing on eating in a way that would impress the Snake Clan. When the next few visits of Naruto, however, kept up in this new way of eating and talking as politely as he could, it was too big of a shock for Iam to ignore. Flashback. She couldn't take it. Iam had been watching how the person who ate the most ramen in the village, and it was killing her curiosity about how Naruto could change so much in such a short amount of time. Of all the conclusions she had come to, the one that stuck out was that Naruto was doing this to impress that pink-haired girl he had a crush on. The other teammate Sasuke was well-mannered, and maybe Naruto saw that as his way in. "Now Naruto, why is it that you are trying so hard to impress that pink-haired girl?" "Are you practicing for a date?" If she says yes, the ramen bistro waitress/chef asked with a curious frown on her face. Clueless to what was going on in the mind of the teenage girl, Naruto replied in a polite manner. "No, I just got some advice from someone that to even have a chance at becoming the Hokage, you need to be polite and be well-mannered for all of the meetings and events that you have to go to," Naruto said, ending the statement with a small smile on his face. And that was that. Had her curiosity satisfied and went back to taking the orders of other regular customers who were both curious and wary as to why Naruto showing much more respect and patience. End flashback. Out of everything which he had been working on over the past month, Naruto felt the most pride in the transformation of his reading and writing. Before Naruto had the meeting with the Snake Clan heiress, his skills in both arts were terrible, to put it nicely. The scribble that Naruto used to call his handwriting was so bad, one could barely recognize it. The same could be also said for his skills when it came to reading, as Naruto had always had trouble following what was being taught at the academy. He fell behind at the start, and it was simply too big of a gap for him to recover without putting in the time and effort. No teacher either cared or had the time to help Naruto in this area. It got to the point that Naruto had just given up thinking that he would ever be able to read and write some of life's essential things to a level that would be average in the eyes of society. This all changed when Naruto learnt the secret to the ninpu, Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, ninja arts, shadow clone jutsu. It was a little surprising that Naruto got the hint that Shakuro had left. In fact, she thought that it would take a while before the blonde cracked the code on the jutsu. It all came about when Naruto sent of one of the clones to go to another shelf in the library and get the next book in the beginner's set of reading and writing. It came back with the knowledge of not only the title, but also the contents page, as the clone got curious himself. After Naruto got over the shock of the clone dispersing, he started thinking about if this was what Shikudo-sama was on about when she said there were still things that he didn't know about the jutsu. Using his favorite method of learning, trial and error, Naruto started experimenting with what a clone could learn. If he could learn at a faster rate, it would drastically reduce the time required for him to be ready for the Snake Clan, whenever they came calling. Unfortunately for Naruto, he never had an arrival time for the offer. This meant that the son of the fourth Hokage had to be ready at any and every possible time. The Uzumaki was utterly delighted when he found out that muscle memory and hand-eye coordination transferred across from the clones. Through analysis, he found out that the only thing that didn't come across was physical exhaustion. "Guess I have to do taijutsu myself." Thanks to this learning method, Naruto was able to drastically increase his reading and writing to that of an adult. As these changes unfolded in Naruto, many were happy. Irika and the Ichiraku family especially, given that they had seen how much Naruto was working at getting better. They could see him maturing and developing into the person they knew he could be. It wasn't all positivity in Naruto's development though, as he noticed both of his teammates seeing his change as a changing of the status quo. Albeit misguided, Sasuke saw Naruto as trying to copy his aloof and detached attitude. Coming from his rival who wanted to beat him all the time, maybe this was some sort of sick and twisted way of getting stronger in the blonde's eyes. On the other side of the coin, one Sakura Haruno thought that this was Naruto's newest attempt for trying to win her over so that she would become his girlfriend instead of Sasuke-kun's future wife. Not liking the change in Naruto due to it being a sign of him being different from what was easy to predict, she felt the need to put him back in his place in her mind. Sakura had started going on about how that Naruto was never going to amount into anything that would date-worthy material ever, no matter how much he changed as a person. More importantly though, she had started to go on about how he should stop trying to be polite, calm and collected like her Sasuke-kun. This did have the effect that Sakura had wanted. She definitely got Naruto to stop attempting to go out with her. Naruto had immediately, now with different values, thought about all of the qualities that Sakura had which mirrored those of the Snake Clan. If he was going to be affiliated with a family like the Snake Clan, then his partner would have to also be a good representation to the family. Looking at the situation, Naruto could only ever see Sakura being impulsive and brash, much like how he used to be. It was then that he came to a shocking conclusion. Sakura was not someone that they would allow him to date because they thought that she did not hold herself with proper conduct of a kunoichi in training. In their eyes, she should have been training to become a good ninja, and from the limited time that Naruto actually spent as her teammate, he knew that she did not train one bit. In addition to this, she focused on her looks being the sole priority in her life as a kunoichi. It was her identity. Sure, shinobi are supposed to look good and appearances definitely matter, but that was to a point. Naruto now held no reservations to the fact that he was going to become the Hokage of Konoha thanks to the reassurances. It was a matter of when, not if. All he had to do was put the effort into becoming someone deserving of the title. The thing that made Naruto realize that Sakura was not the girl for the person who he was trying to become though was that she had a bad temper, which was something that Naruto knew that the Snake Clan would not like. She got angry far too easily when you pushed the right buttons, which were not that hard to find. In contrast to his teammates hating the new Naruto, there were people who were sitting on the fence concerning Naruto's recent change in personality. Those two people being Naruto's sensei and the person who he wanted to take the job off. Both Kakashi Hatake and Hiruzen Sarutobi were curious and somewhat apprehensive as to what brought on Naruto's sudden change in his personality. At first they thought that it was good for Naruto as he needed to become a bit more mature. Then as time went on and they noticed that Naruto was showing less and less signs that indicated that he had undergone a change recently, and they thought that there was something that took Naruto's innocence away from him. If there was anyone in the entirety of Konoha who could have had a motive to leave the village, it was none other than Naruto Uzumaki. He had been dealt a severely harsh childhood which only got worse thanks to the population of Konoha. The future of the village hidden in the leaves rested on a single boy's shoulders more than he knew, and Hiruzen and Kakashi would do everything to make it so Konoha prospered. Naruto was trying his hardest to rein in his hyperactivity. Unfortunately, the blonde-haired boy was not adept enough in being able to prevent it coming to the surface. Occasionally there would be bursts where he would act like the old Naruto. "Yeah!" Naruto shouted as he raised his fist in the air as he jumped to show the full scope of his emotions. This was before he realized what he was trying to rein in. Blushing, Naruto receded a little bit into his orange jacket to hopefully stop the people around him from staring at him. Amused by the response to the mission that Naruto gave, Hiruzen Sarutobi got them all to give their full attention to him. This was so that he could tell them what their mission consisted of. Sasuke smirked at the sight of the old Naruto, the closest person to who he could call a friend. "Now I must say congratulations are in order. This is your first mission apart from the standard D-ranked missions that all teams have to do," Hiruzen said as he wanted to see the expression on the face of Team 7. While it was good and all to see the smiles on the faces of Sakura and Sasuke, it was a bit of a worry to the Sandaime Hokage that the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi could be so happy at the prospect of leading the village. He could only hope that this didn't mean anything bad. As long as Naruto still had the dream to become the Hokage, then all was well and good. Knowing what was to come next, Kakashi didn't stop the Sandaime from bending the truth a little bit. In fact, both Kakashi and I are very impressed with the way that your team has handled your missions so far. We have decided that we will allow you to skip C-ranked missions and give your team a B-ranked mission instead," the Hokage said with a smile on his face. The reactions that the Hokage was expecting coming from Team Kakashi were exactly what he got. The pink-haired girl was even more nervous than what she was before when he told them that they were going on their first real mission. The future Sharingan wielder, though, he was the complete opposite of the person who had the biggest crush on him. His confidence in his abilities was up at a record high thanks to him becoming the Rookie of the Year. Looking at Naruto, both Kakashi and Hiruzen were impressed at the expressions that Naruto was showing on his face, which were down the middle. There was nervousness, confidence, and the willingness to go on the mission. He was showing quite a lot of nerves though. Naruto tried his best to hide them behind the small polite smile that was becoming more and more natural as time passed. Eventually that smile would be better known to those around Naruto than what his big foxy grin was. In the eyes of Hiruzen, it was somewhat sad to see Naruto grow up so quick. He would have hoped that that youthful exuberance stayed around a bit longer. "For your mission, you are to go to the hidden village in the grass, or as it is more commonly known, Kusagakure. The reason as to why you are going there is because your sensei, Kakashi, is fairly well known to the world. He is going to be conducting political talks with them. This is in the hopes of bargaining a new trade agreement for their poisons in return for some of our crops," Hiruzen said to the 4 members that made up Team 7. This news gave Sakura a little bit more certainty in the fact that she was going to live past their first real mission. From what she had just heard, it sounded like one where it didn't require her rather limited skill set. Sasuke was a little miffed about the fact that his chance to test himself against worthy ninjas. When he first heard that he would be going on a B-ranked mission, he thought that he was going to be up against actual ninjas. From what he had heard just then, it sounded more like a mission ranked on importance alone rather than difficulty. There was a little part inside of him that was relieved, although he didn't know it. Much like Sasuke wanted to go up against strong ninjas to prove himself worthy, Naruto also wanted to test himself. This was for two reasons. The first reason being that he wanted to prove to the Snake Clan that he was worthy of joining them. The second reason being that Naruto wanted to prove to all of the people back in Konoha who either despised or doubted him wrong. He wanted to see their smug smile drop right from their face. On the other hand, Naruto also was sharing feelings similar to his pink-haired teammate. Like Sakura, there was a part of him that doubted whether or not he had what was needed to complete the mission. The blonde-haired boy suffered from a severe case of projecting false confidence with a serious case of self-doubt. Naruto knew that he had improved drastically in the last month. The question was, though, would it be enough? Knowing that he was on a tight schedule, the Sandaime knew that he had to get the team in front of him out. This was so that he could give a mission to another team. It was the way that a leader had to be. Hiruzen started speaking moments after. Now, I am all sure that you have a mission to go pack for. You better be prepared for anything. Hiruzen said to not only Sakura, Sasuke, and Naruto but also Kakashi, as he wanted him to get the hidden message. Knowing when he was being given the message to dismiss himself, Kakashi nodded to the leader of the Hidden Leaf Village. Kakashi then proceeded to make his way over to the door and told his students to do the same thing. Once they were outside and out of the way of the current Hokage, Kakashi started to explain to his students what their mission consisted of. Now, while this mission is ranked as a B-ranked mission, you don't need to hyperventilate as much, Sakura. This mission is ranked as such for importance rather than danger, Kakashi said to all of his students. At this point they all nodded as they wanted to know what was going to be said next. Normally, the former ANBU captain wouldn't be as assertive when it came to a simple B-ranked mission. While it was simple enough for the high A-ranked, borderline S-ranked ninja. Since it was something that would have a big effect on the economy, Kakashi was thankful that the trade agreement had already been agreed upon by the Hokage. All he had to do was some formalities and sign off on it. That being said, I still wouldn't rule out some sort of attack, so I want you to be prepared for anything. Even if it doesn't happen, it can't hurt to be prepared, Kakashi said, to which both Naruto and Sasuke nodded. Sakura, on the other hand, looked about as nervous as she was when she was in the office of her rather nice dictator. Seeing the apprehensive look on the face of student who reminded him of his teammate Rin, Kakashi did his best with trying to ease her fears. This was something that was harder than it had to be for Kakashi. He wasn't someone who had experience with teenage girls. "Ma, don't worry about it, Sakura-chan. I won't let anything happen to you. I promise that. I'll even stake my life on that claim, so you don't need to be afraid," Kakashi said to hopefully ease the emotions of the teenage girl. Indeed it did, as the pink-haired girl had reassured herself, straightened out her posture and stood with more confidence than what she previously had. Happy that he had that sorted out, Kakashi said one last thing before he went and used the Ninpu Shunshin no Jutsu, ninja arts, body flicker jutsu. There was the hope that he could go and spend some time at the bar with Guy and Asuma before the mission started. "Now, our mission will start tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock and I expect you all to be there on time. Oh, one last final piece of advice is the mission is going to go for 1 week and a half, so pack accordingly," said with an eye smile, and getting nods from all of his students, Kakashi dispersed in a cloud of smoke, leaving 3 genin to themselves. Realizing that they were alone for a whole day without their sensei being around, Sakura took advantage of what was in front of her. "Hey Sasuke-kun, do you want to go out on a date with me?" the pink-haired girl questioned, with the hopes of her fantasy wedding already running through her mind. Affronted about how little Sakura cared about her ninja life, Sasuke this time around was a little more forceful in his rejection this time around. "No, Sakura, you are a ninja, you should be more worried about whether or not you're going to live past this mission. You shouldn't be trying to date me." With that said, Sasuke not only left but he also brought back all of the insecurities that Kakashi had previously gotten rid of. Naruto though had other things on his mind, as he knew that he had only one ninjutsu in his arsenal, and for him, that wasn't enough. Naruto headed to the library wanting some reassurances that he would survive this mission, or he could possibly be ambushed.
XXX.
Fresh with the knowledge gained at the library, Naruto headed to the same place to find out what he could do in a short space of time. He knew that there was limited time, so he needed to make the most of it. Going into the genin section, Naruto picked up the book which seemed to correlate most to his situation. After quickly skimming the contents page, the Uzumaki child found what he was looking for and jumped to page 33. Apparently, elemental ninjutsu was a quick shortcut to learn the basics of, but took years to master.
It is critical every elemental user needs to know what element they have a predisposition to.
Each ninja will have an element they find easier to learn and subsequently, one that is harder.
This will make it easier and give you a better sense of accomplishment.
It will also help with people getting disheartened, as they will be seeing results sooner. To find out what element you are, all you have to do is go to your local shinobi gear store, buy some elemental paper. Usually it is on the front counter and is plain white, which makes the paper easier to distinguish. You then channel your chakra into the paper and it will tell you what element you lean towards by the reaction it gives off. With a chip on his shoulder regarding how some places previously treated him, Naruto vowed to get new clothes only when he was in a different village. Rushing inside, the blonde got chakra paper and headed outside as soon as he could, leaving the store clerk bewildered as she looked up from filing her nails.
Training Ground 7.
After arriving at the training ground, Naruto sat down on the ground with his back resting up against a tree. Getting down to business quickly, Naruto watched in fascination as the paper in his hand reacted to the chakra that he sent through it. Watching how the paper split in half, Naruto wondered just what exactly that meant. With his new information, Naruto returned his gaze to the book in hand, wondering where to go now.
When you channel your chakra, the paper will have one of 5 reactions. Other additional possibilities could be a bloodline.
If you have an affinity to the Doton element, the second most common element in Konoha, then the paper will start to crumble into the palm of your hand. The stronger the affinity, the more pieces of dirt the paper will crumble into. If it gets to the point that you have small pebbles in your hand, then you have a strong earth element. Skimming through the book, he found what he needed and focused on it. If you have an affinity to the futon element, the rarest of all the elements, then your paper will split itself into 2 even pieces. The stronger the affinity, the sharper and more precise of the cut the paper will have. If it gets to the point that your paper's cut is as sharp as all of the other sides, then you have a strong predisposition to the wind element. Almost immediately, the blonde-haired boy looked down at the paper in his hand and picked a piece up, ran his finger along the edge that had just been cut. He was pleasantly surprised to find a paper cut which told him that he had a strong wind affinity. Hearing that he had the rarest of all the elements in the world, Naruto became jubilant. It didn't twig for Naruto that with his element being the rarest, it would be much harder to train effectively. The only other combo that could compare was a water element living in Suna. Looking back at the book, Naruto found the first jutsu available to him. Wind release, air bullet jutsu, Naruto queried, running the words over his lips, trying to get a sense of familiarity.
There is a reason as to why this is the first jutsu that wind elementalists learn.
This jutsu was meant for teaching the basics of wind ninjutsu and to get a feel for using elemental jutsu in battle. This jutsu will send a blast of wind that is shaped into a sphere and sent straight at the user in a singular movement. The power in this jutsu comes from how the wind is compressed into the shape of sphere. The hand seals for this technique are as follows: horse, snake, bird, ram, tiger, monkey, and finally bird. A hint for all wind users is that generally speaking, most wind ninjutsu end with the bird hand seal. Smiling as it sounded like exactly what he needed, Naruto got to work. Considering how quickly he learnt the Shadow Clone Jutsu, which was a B-ranked jutsu, the blonde Jinchuriki thought he would easily be able to learn the C-ranked Wind Ninjutsu. Usually this would be easier for other genin due to their sensei giving them lessons in basic chakra. Unfortunately for Naruto, this was not the case for him and made it harder for him to learn the jutsu. Even with all the indirect training, by the time it was past his self-imposed bedtime of 9 o'clock, he barely had the jutsu down to a competent level. Had someone seen his frustration, they would have laughed at a kid complaining about a kid learning a jutsu a day.
The next day.
Thanks to his rather good internal clock, the blonde-haired boy named Naruto woke up at 6:30 o'clock in the morning. Despite waking up 30 minutes before he had to be at the front gates of the village, he still had time to get ready and make it. Rinsing off the sweat from the previous night, Naruto understood he was going to be going to the land of grass. The last thing he wanted was to make a bad appearance by smelling bad. That, plus the path was bound to be muggy and dirty. Getting out of the shower, Naruto went over to the chest of drawers in the room and pulled out all the clothes that he would need for the mission until he could buy more. It was then that Naruto pulled out his trusty orange tracksuit. Contrary to popular belief, Naruto did not wear a hideous bright orange jumpsuit. He actually wore a hideous orange tracksuit. At least it wasn't one piece. 10 cups of instant ramen and 2 glasses of milk later, and Naruto's hunger was satisfied, for the time being. Packing his backpack with all of his clothes in a sleeping bag, Naruto looked around for anything else that he needed. Sighing in relief as he saw his frog wallet, the genin had no idea where he got it from, and yet, it was his most prized possession beside his goggles. Dismissing the thoughts that drifted down memory lane, Naruto placed his fat, full of money wallet inside the right side pocket in the hopes that if someone went through his backpack, they would forget to look at the smaller pockets and go for the big ones. XXX. Arriving at the main gate of Konoha, Naruto spotted his 2 teammates in Sakura and Sasuke sitting down on a bench with Sakura fawning over Sasuke. Said Uchiha was trying valiantly to stay calm and collected and keep up his image. "You're late," the pink-haired girl said, expecting an answer from the blonde-haired boy in front of her. She was annoyed that Naruto had to come and end her alone time with Sasuke. "Sorry I am late, Sakura, Kakashi-sensei still isn't here soon." Leaving the girl to piece together that Naruto didn't really care that he was late, as long as he beat their sensei. XXX. 2.5 hours later, and Naruto was absolutely fuming with anger. If someone looked at his face though, they would see a big scowl stitched onto his face. Naruto had to get up early, even when he was tired, to prepare for the mission that he was going on. While this was happening, his sensei was happily sleeping. "I thought the lateness would disappear when we had an actual, serious mission." In that one moment, Naruto lost respect for his sensei. 15 minutes later, and finally Kakashi Hatake, the former ANBU captain, came to where his 3 students were sitting down on a park bench, patiently waiting for him. With a puff of smoke, Kakashi appeared in front of Team 7. This brought out the customary shout of disapproval coming from the pink-haired Kunoichi on the team. "You're late." Sakura angrily shouted at the man that made her have to wait so long when she could have spent the extra time making herself more beautiful. Shrugging nonchalantly in a way that garnered the ire of even the most stoic out of the 3, the raven-haired boy Sasuke, Kakashi replied to the demanding tone of his only female student. "Ma, sorry I'm late. You see, there was a ladder in my apartment's doorway. I had to wait until the people finished doing work in the ceiling so that I could go out, or otherwise, I would have bad luck, and we wouldn't want for that to transfer over to you now, would we?" Just to rub it in even more, he walked over to Sakura and ruffled the hair that she had spent the good part of an hour getting into a near-perfect hairstyle. "Ugh, hi." Sakura fumed with anger at what her sensei had just done. She quickly pulled out her mirror to try and get her hair into what she thought was a respectable style. With all the water now under the bridge, Kakashi directed his team on their first ever trip outside the village. Time skip. Naruto was the first one out of the group that made up Team 7 to watch the sunrise that occurred over the grassy plains of Sunagakure. It was a sight that made Naruto wish that he could see it every morning because of how beautiful it was. As he was instructed, Naruto went over to Sasuke's tent and woke the boy up to get the day started. Soon the whole team was ready for yet another day of trekking through the countryside to the village hidden in the grass. Sensing 2 incoming chakra signatures that were ready and waiting to attack their prey, Kakashi felt something familiar about one of the incoming chakra signatures growled under his mask because he knew exactly who it was that was coming after his team. Sensing the other smaller chakra beside him, Kakashi could tell that the IWA leader had been arrogant in believing that a Chunin would be able to take on all of his students at once and expect to win. This was going to be the baptism of fire for Team 7, and Kakashi really hoped that his team swam instead of sinking. Team Kakashi said in a tone that was not too far from the one that he used when he was in the ANBU Corps. Hearing the seriousness in Kakashi's voice, all of Team 7 turned and gave him their full attention. There are 2 incoming enemy ninja, both from IWA, so you can guess that they both have a Doton element and will be using earth-based techniques. There is 1 Jonin and a Chunin, judging by the chakra signatures that they are emitting. This is baptism by fire and something that I wanted to avoid, but I guess that I don't have that luxury. The Jonin is way too tough for you to handle and I will be facing him alone. That means that you 3 will have to deal with the Chunin until I am done with my opponent and can then finish them off. If in the event that you finish off your opponent before I do with mine, do not come to try and aid me. You will only get in the way and make it easier for him to get an advantage, as he could take either one of you as a hostage. Kakashi said in a forceful and demanding tone. He knew that the lives of his genin were on the line and he wasn't going to take any chances with the legacies of his past dying. All of Team 7 nodded and had a resolute facial expression on their face, as they knew that they were going to be facing their first real test, and it was one that they couldn't fail. Your best bet right now is to think up a strategy together as a team, because I will not be able to help you. You're all on your own for this battle. Kakashi said to the team, which nodded and started thinking about a plan. Sasuke is the first to take action and formulated a plan in his head. For the first time in his life, even Sasuke was feeling the pressure and acted on instinct rather than letting his blown-out ego take over. Alright, here is what we're gonna do. Naruto, you need to be the meat shield for the first part so we can see what our enemies' attacks are like and see if we need to change our strategy during the battle. Sasuke said, just as if he was a natural-born leader on the battlefield. Coincidentally, he had the confidence and courage to take risks to be a Chunin, it was just that he didn't yet have the experience. Deciding that he should go into more detail than what he had just said, Sasuke started speaking once again. Naruto, how many of those clones can you make that would be up to battle standards? Sasuke questioned the orange-wearing ninja. It took Naruto a little while before he could give Sasuke an honest answer. Probably around 300. Naruto replied to the kid who had taken command. Working with the information that Naruto had given him, Sasuke's mind started forming a plan. Right, Naruto, your clones are going to go and attack him first so we can see how he fights and how we can use that to our advantage. When your clones are doing this, Naruto, I want them to try their hardest to get them to hold onto him so he can't move. Sasuke paused for a second for the information to sink through to Naruto, who nodded and had a determined look on his face. Right, during when your clones are trying to hold him down, all 3 of us will be throwing kunai and shuriken to hurt them so that he will have a harder time moving. When Naruto's clones get a good hold of him, I will use my Katan, Gokaki no Jutsu, Fire Release, Grand Fireball Jutsu, on him, and then we will finish him off. Both of Naruto and Sakura looked affronted at the fact that they would have to witness someone dying on their first mission. Despite this look of unease, the 3 all had looks of pure determination on their faces as they readied themselves for the approaching battle. Even if Sakura tried hard to hide her fangirling, seeing Sasuke take control like that was making her feel all sorts of ways. XXX. For Kakashi, this mission just got personal and he was going to do everything in his power to avenge his fallen friend/comrade and teammate by killing Kako of IWA. The man was single-handedly responsible for life turning out the way that it did. The man in front of him killed Obito as far as he was concerned. As he hadn't had a good fight in a long time, it was Kako who was taking initiative. Well, Kakashi, how about we go further into the woods so that we can give our battle the fight that it truly deserves? The brown-haired man, eager to see how he measured up against the famous ninja, remembering the time he famously escaped the kid and his sensei. It was a catch-22 for Kakashi. Whilst he did want to separate Kako from his genin so there was no repeat of a hostage situation, he knew absolutely nothing about the Chunin and whether or not his team could cope with him. In the end, he decided that he simply had to put faith into his students and hope for the best. With both of them nodding, the 2 of them took off to the right, in which they would have their rematch with Team 7. Ha ha ha. Go along, little kiddies, I'll let you use this time so you can form a plan. Come on, show me all of that teamwork that you Konoha scum pride yourselves on. The man with only one sleeve boasted. With the free invitation given to them, Sasuke took the time to once again take action and give the team a plan. Look guys, he's so egotistical, it's something that we can use to our advantage. Naruto, you run in only by yourself,
Sakura and I will throw kunais at him.
They will sail past your head, and by the time they reach the guy, I want you to use your shadow clone jutsu, and then we will just use the same plan from before, got it?
Sasuke stated, clearly taking leadership over the team. Naruto and Sakura didn't have any issues as they couldn't think of a better plan given the time frame. Not once during his speech about the enemy being egotistical did Sasuke notice the irony in what was coming out of his mouth. Alright, go Naruto, we'll cover you with kunai.
Sasuke commanded, to which Naruto nodded and charged in at the Chunin from IWA. Said Chunin from the land of Earth was curious as to what the genin managed to come up with in such a short amount of time. Whatever it was not as if the kids had a chance to beat him. He was a Chunin after all, and they were fresh genin judging by the look of Naruto's clothes. As he came in closer to the enemy, Naruto amended Sasuke's plan and made it into his own. Putting extra amounts of chakra into the technique, Naruto allowed a large plume of smoke to appear. This intended distraction certainly caught the eyes of the IWA Chunin.
Hunta did not know what was going to come next, now that there was a cloud of smoke covering the battlefield.
Since Sasuke had thrown the kunai with such force, it didn't matter that Naruto had made some clones in front of their path. As the kunai sailed through the cloud of smoke, they killed a couple of clones in the process and went en route to hit their original target. Sakura's kunai sadly did not have the muscle behind them like Sasuke's, and as such stopped when they hit one of Naruto's clones. In the mind of Naruto, the smokescreen and the loss of a few clones was all worthy as long as all of Team 7 got out of this encounter with their lives and no permanent injuries. Piercing Naruto's clone, the two kunai that Sasuke threw at his first real enemy in his first real battle went on to score successive hits on the IWA Chunin. The first one caused a shallow cut onto his left hip.
The second,
sticking painfully into the thigh muscle of the IWA Chunin, Sasuke was smirking as he saw that the damage he had caused was enough for Naruto to get 3 clones to jump on him and hold onto a limb, with the only free one being the man's left arm. While the clones of Naruto were holding onto each of the limbs as if it was like a dog humping somebody's leg, Naruto had moved his body around so that the knee of each of his clones was resting on the limb that they were holding onto. In a split second after Naruto's clones had gotten into position, they immediately went to work doing their part in the plan that Sasuke had set out for the team. They repeatedly jammed their kneecaps into the side of Hunta's limbs they were holding onto. Each of the clones managed to get 2 hits on the limb before they were destroyed. Fire release, Grand Fireball Jutsu, Sasuke called out as placing his hands into the Tiger Seal, releasing the jutsu towards the IWA Chunin.
Seeing the impending death in front of him, adrenaline kicked in for the Chunin.
Earth release, Double Suicide Decapitation no Jutsu, the black-haired Chunin said out loud as he dug into the ground to escape the oncoming blast, leaving the clones to take the full force of the C-rank jutsu. Hearing the name of the jutsu that the man called out, Sasuke remembered exactly where he had heard it before.
Guys, Sasuke said, getting the attention of Sakura and Naruto as they tried to find out where the man had gone to.
This was the jutsu that Kakashi used on me when we had our genin test.
Our enemy is underground and is going to pull at least one of us underground,
Sasuke announced to his team, who sent him grateful looks and nodded as they shifted their attention to the ground to see when and where their enemy would pop up. Hearing what the black-haired kid had said when he was underground made the Chunin curse under his breath and started to think up a new plan. Curse those brats, they actually made a good strategy that caused me to suffer an injury.
And wait, what's this? They actually know what jutsu I'm using at the moment?
Guess I have to turn this up a notch. I never would have expected some fresh out of the academy gakis to be this good.
Re-evaluating the flow of the battle, Hunta realized that he needed to take out Sasuke.
He's obviously their leader. As soon as he saw a hand pop out of the ground, the Uchiha clan heir quickly moved his right foot, avoiding getting dragged underground.
Unaware of the real plan, Sasuke could only watch on in horror as the enemy went after his ankle, rather than trying to drag him down. By the slimmest of margins, Sasuke dodged the attack, retaliating by slamming it back down on the hand coming out of the ground repeatedly. Damn that kid. He can't be a fresh out of the academy genin. He's too good. I guess that since Kako-senpai could be having trouble with Kakashi, I better finish these kids fast. I need to get in Kako's good books. He's my only chance at promotion. Having just created what was theoretically his most powerful jutsu, who better was there to test this on than fresh genin?
Casting his jutsu, the Chunin from the land of Earth silently made the earth around him turn into mud and form about 5 meters behind Team 7. All of this, happening as Hunta still happened to be beneath the surface. To complete the jutsu that he was making, the black-haired individual slowly rose up from the ground, letting his body get layered with mud, leaving tiny holes to be able to breathe. Finally, once the jutsu was done, the IWA Chunin fired off what would be the first bullet made out of earth at Sasuke. Confident that none of the genin would be able to hear the hardened clump of mud sailing through the air, Hunta impatiently waited so that he could gloat. It was fun toying with the emotions of Konohamaru genin after all. If anything could come from the severe paranoia that Naruto had as a younger child, it was being able to feel things around him better than those of his age. Acting on instinct, the blonde-haired member of the Uzumaki clan turned around and was shocked at what he saw. Coming quickly in the direction at where his only male friend was standing, was a football-sized sphere of mud. Naruto knew that it would cause serious damage to Sasuke if he didn't do anything about it real soon. Diving on instinct, in the direction of the last loyal Uchiha, pushing him out of the way. Ideally, Naruto wanted to avoid the two of them getting hit. Instead, Naruto got hit in the left ankle. Hearing the loud cry of agony just after he had been pushed aside, Sasuke turned around to a feeling all too familiar. That was the feeling of helplessness, and the emotion came on very strong. There in front of him was Naruto, the only person his age he had formed a bond of remote friendship with. He was the only other kid around his own age that knew that pain of being truly and utterly alone. Unconsciously channeling chakra into his eyes, Sasuke felt the familiar feelings of rage, anger, and utter helplessness. Activating his clan's prized bloodline limit, the Sharingan, with one tomo in each eye, Sasuke took command of the situation and started feeding off of the adrenaline that was being fueled by his anger. Sakura! Sasuke shouted at Sakura, who was too shocked at seeing the damage that Naruto had suffered when he took the hit for Sasuke. Thankfully for Sasuke, this was enough to bring the pink-haired girl out of stunned stupor and got her focusing on her now red-eyed teammate. Take Naruto into the tree line so that we can think of a plan to hopefully win this without any more injuries while we stall some time for Kakashi-sensei to come in and help. While you're doing this, I will buy you some time. Got it? Even as Sasuke said the word help, he had said it with disdain, but he was not going to put his own ego over other people that were close to getting hurt or possibly worse, killed. Especially after the fact that said injured person had been the one to save him. Nodding dumbly at the commanding aura that her crush had taken on when he spoke to her, Sakura thought Sasuke was hot as hell when he commanded her. The inert Sundara was coming out. Sakura picked up Naruto as best she could so that she wouldn't injure his ankle anymore. At the present moment, she could tell it was broken just by looking at it. Turning around to where the mud had been shot at, Sasuke saw the person responsible for Naruto having to cover his arse. In the mind of Sasuke, the raven-haired Uchiha was not seeing Hunta in front of him, instead he was seeing an Itachi-shaped Hunta witch. This was the cause of untold psychological damage inflicted onto him as a kid. Right in front of him was mud-shaped animal that was at least 3.5 meters long and that was about 1 meter wide in circumference at the base. As the structure rose from the ground, it slowly got thinner. That was just the basic design of what he was seeing. The more detailed version would also include how the mud was shaped and molded into a dragon. Just to make Sasuke even angrier, in its mouth was another one of the balls of mud that Naruto got hit with. Haha, look at my greatest technique that I will now be testing on its first victims. Don't even think about trying to win because this jutsu is so awesome that no one can defeat it. Although the man was wrong in the statement, it did not make Sasuke feel any less nervous. Isn't it such a wonderful jutsu? I call my pride. Enjoy the Doton, Daidoryuden no Jutsu, Earth Release, Great Mud Dragon Bullet Jutsu. I call it this because I combine two jutsus into one jutsu that is even better than the two jutsus combined. I combined the Doton, Doryuden no Jutsu, Earth Release, Mud Dragon Bullet Jutsu, with the Doton, Dosen Kiryu, Earth Release, Earth and Stone Dragon Jutsu, and you get to be the first person to see what it does other than me. The Chunin from IWA proudly boasted as he had been waiting for this moment for quite a while. Having heard enough from the man that caused Naruto to have a broken leg, Sasuke launched himself at a speed that was even faster than what Naruto had used before. With the aid of his newly activated Dojutsu and the adrenaline pumping in his body, the raven-haired boy easily dodged the multiple shots of mud being fired at him thanks to his better vision. Fueled by aggression, anger, and adrenaline, Sasuke tried punching and kicking the base of the structure, getting nowhere.
Ha ha ha.
Mere punches won't be able to break my jutsu, the mud will just absorb the power behind them into the ground. Kid, you better try something new or otherwise I'll end this soon. The Chunin from IWA said, which only spurred Sasuke on even further. Taking out a 2 kunai with the intent of using each one in each hand, Sasuke slashed wildly in the hopes of cutting down the mud dragon. Realizing what the kid was trying to do, the green-eyed man took the battle a little bit more seriously, as over time, the kid would be able to severely weaken his jutsu. Getting fired at by an even larger volley of chakra-powered mud bullets, a stray bullet clipped Sasuke's outstretched arm. Frustrated at the lack of effect his tactics seemed to have, Sasuke took a moment to take a few steps back and re-evaluate. Cursing that his concentration had been broken by requiring to dodge incoming attacks, Sasuke knew he would have to think of a new strategy. Patiently waiting for the change in cadence, Sasuke sprinted in a zigzag pattern before finding time to launch off his fire jutsu. Taking solace in that he had managed to finally connect with an attack, Sasuke hurriedly headed away into the forest from the open plain that he was standing in. When he hopped past the first few trees, something caught the eyes of the last loyal Uchiha to Konoha. That was the sight of not only the pink jacket that Sakura had been wearing earlier that day, but also the pink hair that was also unmistakably Sakura's. Fuming internally, Sasuke spoke up. "What the hell are you doing? You're supposed to be much further ahead than this. The point of me making the distraction was to get you further ahead so that you could get some help to finish this off, but also so that you can get someone to fix Naruto's leg." Sasuke seethed, not liking Sakura not obeying his orders. Visibly deflating because it was her crush that was speaking to her in that way, Sakura wondered whether she made the right decision concerning the team. Growing a spine for once when it concerned her crush on near-obsessive proportions, Sakura actually spoke back at Sasuke. The first lesson that Kakashi-sensei taught us all, Sasuke-kun, was that in a ninja world, those who break the rules are trash. That's true, but those who abandon their comrades are worse than trash. Just because you wanted to do the heroic thing, it doesn't mean that you're not part of the team. Here's a new saying that Team 7 is going to abide by from now on. One for all and all for one, the pink-haired girl shouted at Sasuke, stunning him into silence. Watching on, Naruto came up with an idea, using the makeshift crutch that Sakura had built from 4 sticks and some ninja wire so that he could stand. "I've got a plan so that we can beat this guy. Sasuke, how much chakra do you have and how many of those fireballs can that make?" Naruto, who was standing via the aid of the crutch that Sakura had just recently made. It only took just a few seconds for the Sharingan wielder to reply with the answer of 2, giving Naruto another question that he needed to ask. "Can you make 1 giant one instead of 2 smaller ones?" Naruto asked once again, to which Sasuke nodded, confident in his abilities with fire manipulation. "Now I need something more for my plan to work out," Sakura Naruto questioned, which brought the girl's gaze to him as he asked her a question. "Sakura, do you have anything other than the standard kunai, shuriken, and the ninja wire that you used to use make this crutch?" Naruto asked his former pink-haired crush. Nodding, Sakura produced a kunai, though it was not just a standard kunai. No, this was one of the special explosion kunai that her parents had bought her for a graduation present in case she ever needed it. Unlike the other kunai, these were made out of a special chakra-conducting material which allowed for better placement of seals onto the kunai, thus increasing said seals' effectiveness. Along with that, Jiraiya had also placed stronger explosion seals on them to give them a bit more oomph. To offset the much more enemy-friendly kunai to the shinobi on the battlefield, the kunai had to be sold at a premium price. All in all, it was lucky and rare for a genin, let alone a freshly minted genin, to get their hands on one. "Yeah, this is a special explosion kunai," Sakura said, to which both Naruto and Sasuke looked on with newfound interest because they both knew that this kunai was more power-packed than the regular kunai that explosion seals on them. As soon as Naruto recognized what Sakura had in her hand, he grinned because it was exactly what he needed when it came to his brilliant plan. With a smile on his face, Naruto addressed both Sasuke and Sakura. "That's great, Sakura. That'd be perfect for what I've got planned." Naruto already grinning at his idea. "I've been trying to learn a wind jutsu for the past few days, Daimo. Wind makes fire much stronger, and if we add the kunai, that's gotta be able to cause a lot of damage." Both Sasuke and Sakura ignored the feelings of curiosity, wondering why he was learning it. Now was not the time. Wait, Naruto, how are you going to be able to use your jutsu? You can hardly move. Sakura asked with concern as her perception of Naruto had changed throughout this ordeal when she saw what he did for her Sasuke. She was willing to give him the benefit of the doubt as long as he did not ask her out on dates anymore. Dismissing the concern that Sakura had for him, he did his best to reassure her that he was alright so that the team could focus on the mission.
Don't worry about me," Naruto said, which made the insecurities that Sakura was feeling go down to a minimum for the moment.
Hopping on one leg, Naruto, being supported by his teammates, found a mentally deranged IWA Chunin who was not at all happy for having his prized creation so humiliatingly ruined by a mere academy graduate. With a nod to one another, all of Team 7 started to prepare their respective attacks, with Naruto leaning on Sasuke for balance. Fire release, Great Fireball Jutsu, Wind release, Air Bullet Jutsu. Both Sasuke and Naruto called out their respective jutsus as all of Team 7 watched on in awe at the combined large fireball that was going towards the enemy. The new and improved fireball was almost triple the size of one that Sasuke could make by himself. He had to learn that jutsu from Naruto so he could do that on his own. From afar, to the right, Sakura knew her part and was a little overwhelmed by the combined fireball of Naruto and Sasuke had just made. This was why she was a little slow when it came to doing her part, but she nonetheless did it and did it well. Throwing the special kunai in a perpendicular line, she patiently waited for the kunai to cross over with the fireball and the IWA Chunin. Thankfully, the kunai didn't go off immediately, due to it being made of steel, rather than wrapped in paper.
Using the superior control over her chakra compared to her two teammates, Sakura used the Ram hand sign and channeled some chakra into the kunai. Boom!
All of Team 7 heard as they watched on with fascination at how the fireball engulfed the mud dragon and tore it to pieces. It was then that the Genin team, being led by Kakashi, heard the horrific screams coming from inside the fire. Sadly for them, that was not the case, because when Sakura had turned her back to the man, just so that she could walk over to her team and celebrate with them, an insane, naked man came out of the mud with the intent of killing her. Knowing that only he and Sasuke were the ones to see this, and the fact that Sasuke had run out of all of his chakra to use in battle, which left it up to Naruto to save the day once again. Calling it out once again, Naruto's jutsu hit the man, colliding with his ribs, sending him to the ground forcefully.
Gaining confidence, his jutsu was working due to the screams coming from the enemy ninja.
This time though, he knew to expect Naruto using a wind ninjutsu at him. It meant that he was now looking at Naruto to see whether or not he would fire another one of the attacks. That was exactly the case, in that Naruto sent another one of the wind release, Air Bullet Jutsu, and had it aimed directly at the IWA Chunin. The Chunin dodged the attack and was now running with a deranged look on his face at Sakura with a kunai in hand with the intent to slice her throat. Closing her eyes, fearing for her life, Sakura waited for the inevitable blow. When the blow didn't come, and instead of the blow, there was a really loud crackling sound coming from in front of her, the pink-haired girl managed to squint and one eye open and was shocked.
"You!" Sakura screamed as she looked down at the two blobs of blood on the front of her dress.
Using Sakura's discomfort, quickly dumped the body into the ground, burying it before she had to see him. "I told you, Sakura, that I wouldn't let anyone hurt you, so you don't have to worry about anything like that happening again," Kakashi said as looked around to see what type of condition the rest of his team was in. It was then that he noticed that Naruto, said boy, was leaning quite heavily on a makeshift crutch. Immediately the silver-haired Jonin worried about something serious happening to his sensei's son. That thought though was cancelled when Kakashi noticed that there was not one speck of blood coming from him. It was this that allowed Kakashi to breathe a sigh of relief as he then turned his attention to his final student. There was the Uchiha, the other last living reminder to the past that was so painful for him. Seeing that the raven-haired boy had his Sharingan activated with a tomo in each, made Kakashi proud that his student had unlocked a piece of his heritage. Seeing that there were no serious injuries to him made Kakashi relieved that even though the mission went slightly pear-shaped, the team all managed to pull together and make it through the ordeal.
"Year. You just unlocked your Sharingan and you've got one tomo in each eye," Kakashi said, to which the raven-haired Uchiha fainted with a smile on his face. With a passed-out Sasuke slung over one shoulder, Kakashi decided to let his students know of the incoming chakra signatures so that they wouldn't panic and get into fighting positions, especially Naruto with his broken leg. "There are 3 incoming chakra signatures, but you don't need to worry.
Kakashi quickly stated as he saw the tensing in both of his students. It was almost half a minute later that there were three figures who had dropped down from the tree line and bowed their heads towards Kakashi as if he was the Hokage. "We are deeply sorry, Kakashi-sama, for not getting to your battle so that we could help out. We only heard about it when we felt that final chakra spike and heard a faint noise in the distance," the leader of the three Chunin said as he bowed to the silver-haired man.
"Ma, that's alright.
Now my students are injured from their first battle, so we need to take them to your hospital so that Naruto here can have his broken leg looked at,"
Kakashi said so that his sensei's son could get the treatment he needed.
Nodding at the statement from Kakashi, two of the three Chunin from Kusa moved over to Naruto and took both of his arms and wrapped them over their respective shoulders so that they could carry Naruto and move at a faster pace.
XXX.
Once the team of 6, albeit with one incapacitated, got through the gates of the hidden village in the land of grass, they had to go their separate ways because they each had their own agendas of things to do. With Kakashi being occupied with trade negotiations and Sakura volunteering to take Sasuke to the hotel to rest, Naruto was left in the hospital ward, waiting for someone to come and help with his broken leg. Once arriving at the foyer of the hospital, the two Chunin told the receptionist what had happened to Naruto and she promptly called for a medical ninja to come and heal his leg. Sitting down in the waiting room, it was not long until there were two people who came out to greet Naruto. The first of them was the usual description for what Naruto had of what a doctor/medical ninja looked like with his scrubs.
The second person was someone that Naruto wasn't quite sure who they were.
Now that he thought about it, she looked quite young to be a doctor, she only looked just a little bit older than what he was. The girl was wearing a pair of black shinobi sandals, which was what Naruto could call the only normal part of her choice in clothing. Admittedly, this was only compared to what he could gather what Ino, Sakura, and all of the other girls at the academy chose to wear. It was even different from that massive baggy jacket that Hinata wore. This girl was wearing a full-length mesh bodysuit that was underneath a skirt. She had a tan polo button-up t-shirt that had a dark brown stripe that went the whole way around from her breast line. The whole ensemble for Naruto was quite unique. He had never really seen a girl dress like a tomboy. The craziest part of her look, though, was bright red hair that went all the way down to her belly button. This was combined with vibrant red eyes that the girl had were thoroughly entrancing. All of this was complemented by the black glasses that framed the girl's face and made her someone who, despite having a different type of style, he still found her attractive. It was then that he was brought out of his reverie by the older, male doctor.
"Karen here will be the one healing you. She is a medical ninja in training.
I will merely be here to oversee the procedure in case anything goes wrong." Looking at Karen with anxiousness, Naruto hoped she knew what she was doing. Naruto gave her a polite smile, one which managed to get one in return from Karen. "What's happening to me? I usually don't fall for boys, especially ones that wear such ugly clothes." Once the two went away and into their own room so that Naruto could have his leg checked on, the red-haired girl started speaking to Naruto. "Well, since the receptionist said that you have a broken leg, you must be really strong to not show any signs of pain from the injury," Karen said as she kept her head focused on the clipboard in her hands. Before, when Naruto was nowhere near as smart as what he was now, he would have grinned like an idiot and bragged to the cows came home about how tough and how strong he was. Now though, with the little bit of humiliation and realizing how much further there was for him to improve as a shinobi compared to how little he actually knew, made Naruto be honest about something like this. "Sorry about that, my sensei used some jutsu on my leg so that I can't feel any pain coming from it.
He also made it so that I can't move my leg either, so I guess you know what he did?" Naruto questioned to his first ever experience with a doctor. She nodded. "Now,
Naruto, I need you to take off your pants or at least roll them up and keep them there so I can carefully take off your shinobi sandal,"
the glasses-wearing girl quickly amended as she saw the outrageous look on Naruto's face.
"Now Naruto, you have managed to get the best possible break in terms of it being a break that doesn't take that long to heal, since all you have to heal is the two bones mending back into one. Normally when someone breaks an ankle, the two bones will dig into your ligaments and tendons, which are the parts that allow you to move your leg and cause you a lot more pain. It would also take a lot longer to heal," Karen stated as she was using a formal tone when discussing what is wrong with a patient.
"So, what color would you want to have your cast, Naruto?"
"Orange," Karen somehow managed to say with a dry tone and yet chuckled after as soon as she said it.
Naruto for his part was scratched the back of his head with an awkward laugh. He knew his clothes weren't the greatest, heck they weren't even great in Naruto's mind, but he wouldn't be subjected to having to buy all of his clothes from Konoha since they would always overpriced items. Getting out of his reverie about reminiscing about darker days for himself, Naruto answered the question that Karen had given him. "No, I will have the cast in a red color." Naruto replied to Karen in an equally dry tone, hoping to win the conversation that they were having. A small blush appeared on the girl's face. She didn't expect Naruto to turn that one around. After placing the cast and Naruto having to wait 2 hours for it to be fully ready, Naruto was now ready to go. "Hey, Karen-chan, would it be possible for you to give me a full medical check? I am an orphan and I haven't had one in a while, so I would like to know what's going on in my body," Naruto asked while flashing the smile that she had seen when he first met her. "Fine, but I'm going to need you to take off all of your clothes for that to happen, as I need to go over all parts of your body," the red-haired girl stated with a massive blush covering her whole face. Naruto wasn't any different, as he too had his whole face red from embarrassment, which was unlike the tan complexion that he usually wore. In Naruto's mind, it was either do this with someone from his village, which was something that he did not want to happen, or do it with someone else who would give him honest and true answers. The fact that she was from a different village made it all the better, because he had hopes that he would never have to see her again and remember the embarrassing moment that he was about to get himself into. Grumbling, Naruto finally spoke after a bit of time. "Fine, can we just get this over as soon as possible, because I know this is going to be heaps awkward, and judging by the blush on your face, I'm guessing that you feel the exact same way?" Naruto questioned to the tan shirt wearing girl, who only just nodded as she was too nervous to speak. She didn't trust herself enough to speak. Bravely taking both his jacket and t-shirt off, Naruto faced the fact that he was skinnier than a lot of the other kids at the academy. It was a reminder that he couldn't afford to eat well and didn't know how to cook either. Naruto was unaware that he was so lucky. Having the fox in his gut allowed Naruto to get away with poor diet, thanks to his healing factor. Karen was shocked, seeing just how skinny Naruto was. There was almost no sign of muscle or fat. He was mostly skin and bone. Wanting to hide himself as much as possible from the gaze coming from Karen, Naruto quickly dropped his pants, leaving him just in his undies, just only managing to get the offending pants over the hardening cast that was on his leg. Irritated by the look that Karen was giving him, Naruto let his emotions bleed out as he spoke. "Can we get on with the examination and stop staring at my body?" Naruto said in a tone that was a bit harsh and he somewhat regretted using on Karen. Confused and then subsequently hurt at the tone he was now using, Karen refocused. He was so polite before. Hearing the tone that Naruto used on her made Karen realize that she had been staring at him, and it made her feel guilty. "Right, sorry about that. Now can you please lie on the bed? It doesn't matter what position you lie in, so you can choose either your back or your stomach," Karen said, to which Naruto nodded and went over to the sheet-covered bed and lied on his stomach on it so that Karen would not have the chance to possibly see the Jinchuriki seal on his stomach that would only lead to questions he wasn't willing to answer. "So, from what I can see, a lot of your issues all stem from being underweight. By putting on some more weight, I think you will get stronger, faster, and have more energy to use when training and fighting," Karen mentioned, not taking her head up from the notes. Naruto grimaced. He was fairly sure already that was going to be the answer he was going to receive. "I guess I have to try and find ways to eat more food. If I want to become the best ninja I can be, I need to eat more. I would also guess that the injury you got on your leg probably wouldn't have broke if you were eating better. It can have other effects like making your body weak. Fuck. I really need to eat more." Once the red-eyed girl and Naruto had started to have a bit of a pause in their conversation, she immediately took the time to have a look at Naruto's cast and see whether or not it was ready for Naruto to walk around on, albeit it with a pair of crutches. Indeed, it was ready for Naruto to go about his way, but not before Karen had called for her teacher to come in and have a look. She had to get him to sign off saying that her workmanship was at the industry standard. With a check of the leg done by the chief of medicine, the man gave Naruto the all-clear for him to move around. Being the gentleman he was in training, Naruto took one last final chance to say goodbye the proper way, well, what he thought the proper way was to Karen.
Once getting the pair of crutches off of the receptionist, which he would have to give back when he went back to Konoha, Naruto made one last final comment to Karen before leaving.
"Thank you for the time that we spent together, Karen. I am grateful for choosing to have you as the doctor rather than someone else."
And with that said, Naruto gently grabbed the hand of the red-eyed girl and gave it a quick chaste kiss before Karen could say something. Naruto turned around and left with a massive blush on his face. What Naruto did not see was the blushing mess that was the red-haired girl who stammered to say something before Naruto could leave. Sadly, that was not the case, but as soon as Naruto left her side, Karen did manage to reply, even though she knew that the blonde-haired boy would not be able to hear what she was saying.
"Thank you, and I hope to see you again, Naruto-kun,"
Karen said in a daze before she had to turn around so that she could go back to the work that her sensei had installed for her.
XXX.
Hating the fact that he was unable to move, Naruto felt restless with all of the energy, especially with the Kyuubi's chakra filtering into his system, that he wanted to get better as soon as possible. With a thought in his mind, Naruto headed back to the hospital, mere moments after getting the all clear. Karen was minding her own business when a familiar voice broke her concentration.
"Hey Karen, there is something that I want to ask you. Can we have a chat outside, if that is not too much to ask?" He wondered.
She thought that as soon as Naruto had the cast put on his leg, he would just go and spend all of the time that he was in Kusa with his teammates. She didn't expect to see the bright yellow mop of hair ever again, but if she was honest with herself, she was happy to see the politely smiling boy once again. Once they made it outside, Naruto fumbled a bit with his words.
The rejections from Sakura were fresh in his mind. "Karen, would it be possible if the two of us could go out on a date?" Naruto questioned, hoping she said yes.
Said girl was shocked. Why would someone, let alone someone from another village, want to go out with her when none of the boys that she went to the academy with would even spend any time of day with her? A multitude of thoughts ran through her head, causing her to forget where she was. Naruto, seeing the time it was taking Karen to answer, Naruto panicked. "Karen, I don't expect that this to be a full-blown relationship between the two of us. I just thought that we both could get some experience when it comes to dating under our belt so that if we ever want to date someone that a relationship could happen with, we'd at least have some experience beforehand so that we don't mess it up." These words from Naruto brought Karen out of her reverie, and it was this time that Karen finally found her voice preparing a question that had been on her mind ever since he asked her for a date.
"Why me?
I mean, there are a lot of other girls out there who are prettier than me, so why did you choose me? Or is it just because that I'm just the first girl that you've come across in Kusa?" she said with a hint of bitterness in her voice. She did not like it how other girls got all of the attention from the boys when she got none at all. Naruto was affronted at the tone that she was using when she described herself to him. He thought the total opposite, thinking she was beautiful in her own right.
"While it is true that you are the first girl that I have met in Kusa," Naruto said, not fully aware how much this hurt Karen, "but I do not see how you could possibly think that you are not pretty."
At this point a blush appeared on Naruto's face, but it did not stop him from speaking his mind.
"You have a great smile, and I don't think you realize just how amazing your hair is,"
Naruto stated to the said red-haired girl. No one had ever mentioned her hair and it being pretty outside of her father.
Karen looked up, using the vibrant red eyes, and looked into Naruto's oceanic blue ones and asked with a hesitant tone, "Do you really mean that, Naruto?" Karen said with a hint of uncertainty in her voice.
Seeing the look in the eyes of Naruto, she jumped and hugged him. Karen did do that because she had a nervous blush on her face when she released the hug.
It was then that Naruto talked about what they would be doing for the date.
"I guess we can go and have some lunch since you just finished your work, and I know that if I had just finished training I'd be hungry as well,"
Naruto questioned to Karen, who just nodded and smiled.
In the mind of the red-haired girl, today was going to be a day that nothing could possibly ruin. "But first, I think that we should go to one of your shinobi clothing stores so that I can get some clothes to wear so that I don't make you look bad.
I think that having a girl's opinion on the choice of clothes I buy should make me look better, right?"
Naruto questioned with a grin on his face as he just saw Karen giggle and nod, as she did think that Naruto needed some better choice of clothing, especially if he was a ninja. When they went into the store, Naruto was in for a sharp change of mindset because he noticed that all of the clothes that were in here were totally different to what Konoha had. Back at home, all of the clothes that Naruto had seen that people could buy were in the form of kimonos. In Kusa though, It was a whole different kettle of fish because they had embraced the change when it came to the fashion that a lot of Konoha had discarded, thinking that it wouldn't sell at all.
So Naruto, how much stuff do you need to buy today? By the looks of your clothing, I can guess that you need a whole new wardrobe?
Karen grinned, lightly teasing as she was finally finding out what it meant to have fun with people around her own age.
Naruto was in the same boat.
He knew that Shikamaru, Choji and Kiba were not really friends to him, they were more like acquaintances when he looked back on the days he spent at the academy. Replying with a smile of his own, Naruto nodded and replied to the red-haired girl.
Yeah, it seems as if I do need a whole new wardrobe. Would you mind helping me out here? Sure thing, you kind gentleman.
Karen said with a giggle as she liked the way that Naruto was treating her.
None of the boys at the academy had even half of the manners that Naruto seemed to have. So, what types of clothes would you like to wear, Naruto?
Karen stated as she started imagining Naruto in all different types of clothes, wondering which ones would look the best on him. It took Naruto a while to decide what he wanted to wear. With that in mind, the red-headed girl went around to the shelves and pulled off some clothes so that Naruto could go into the store's changing rooms and try them on.
It took Naruto a few minutes to change into the clothes because of his broken leg, but once that was done, he called Karen over to the door. Opening the door, Karen was greeted with the sight of the new and improved Naruto Uzumaki.
Wearing a pair of loose-fitting black track pants, tapered at the ankle, Naruto completed the look with a burnt orange hoodie with black trimmings and drawstrings. Naruto also replaced Irika's blue headband, which had stains and was falling apart.
He replaced it with a simple black headband. Both Naruto and Karen were proud with how he now looked.
The duo both thought it was a significant upgrade. It was then that Naruto's stomach grumbled as Karen was just about to start asking about what Naruto's food preferences were. Valiantly trying to hide the blush that was forming on his face, the blonde-haired boy jumped in.
Well, Karen-chan, how about we go and talk over some lunch?
As the duo of genin ninjas from different villages were walking down the street, Naruto and Karen came across someone that the red-haired girl, her main bully. She was an outcast due to her red hair being so uncommon. She was the only person in the village with red hair outside her father. Not wanting to sound like a little whiny bitch as she had been called many a times in the past, Karen steeled her resolve and hoped that nothing would cause the girl's attention to focus on what she was doing with Naruto. Sadly, that was not the case, as the bully had indeed seen Naruto, who she had dubbed quite cute, and hanging around the nerdy, socially awkward Karen. Thinking of herself as the good Samaritan that she was, the green-eyed girl told herself that she should go and help Naruto out by telling him to not associate someone of the likes of Karen.
Karen gulped as she saw her bully coming over to talk with them.
Naruto briefly looked over at his date and saw the rising unease and discomfort on her face. Looking where her head was at, he saw another girl coming over to them. As soon as the girl arrived onto the scene, she spoke with a pompous attitude.
You know, that Karen is an awkward nerd.
Someone as cute as you shouldn't be hanging out with the likes of her, but I'll let that pass. If you come and hang with me, then I'm sure we can more fun than what you would do with the blood clot. The girl said with a flirtatious smile on her face. Karen, for her part, was ready for the part when Naruto would blow off their date so that he could go with the prettier girl.
No. It was a complete sentence.
Karen was in shock. It was as pure and as simple as that. The air that filled the footpath was so warm and inviting. She could feel it emanating from Naruto. Now, though, there was a chill to the air.
It was oppressive and all-consuming.
Crushed as she had been shut down so simply, the bully walked away, attempting her best facade to keep her dignity in check. On an emotional high due to Naruto reassuring that he wanted to be with her, Karen reached out softly and grabbed his hand. Feeling a softer hand wrap around his own, Naruto turned away from the retreating form of the bully and looked at the red-haired girl beside him. When he felt the squeeze on his hand, he saw a smile appear on the face of Karen. This was all that Naruto needed to return the smile, as he was having one of the happiest days of his life.
He wouldn't trade today for anything.
Then came the argument as to what was for lunch. It was light-hearted, and the smiles on the faces of Karen and Naruto didn't disappear for a second. In the end, they had settled on a place that both Naruto and Karen had come to terms with. It was a restaurant that had been inspired by the cuisine that Kumogakure had in spades and decided to open up a shop that sold similar food.
Neither had ever had it before.
With a little bit of hesitancy in his voice that either the waiter or Karen picked up on, Naruto chose what he wanted to eat.
"Can I please have the mild mutton curry?"
Naruto stated to the waiter, who thought that, like Karen, Naruto was questioning whether or not the food was on the menu. In the end, she just gave a nod, to which Naruto replied,
"Thank you."
For the drinks, both Naruto and Karen were happy with just having water, as they wanted to savor the taste of the food that they were ordering. It was then that the two started their conversations that would last on for what seemed like a couple of minutes to the two, and yet in reality they had lasted about 4 hours.
"So Karen-chan, what was it like growing up in Kusagakure?" Naruto asked, hoping that she didn't have to go through anything similar to him.
"Well, it was fairly difficult growing up here," Karen stated as she looked down, not really knowing why she was starting to spill secrets about her childhood and the painful memories that they brought. Seeing Naruto's face, she saw confusion combined with some worry, as he wanted to know if there was anything that he could do to make her feel better. Somehow, Karen felt an urge that was telling her that it was okay to confide in Naruto. She knew that he was the type of boy who would not look at her any different once she had spilled her secrets about how she didn't have the perfect childhood. "Well, when I was 3, my mum died from cancer. Mum died when I was young, so that I don't have that many memories of her," Karen said, with the feeling of emotional pain spreading like a wildfire throughout her heart. Karen felt both of her hands taken as Naruto tried to do his best to make her feel better. He didn't want such a nice girl to be suffering from any form of pain.
"You're not alone in that feeling, Karen-chan.
I'm an orphan myself, so I don't know what it means to have a parent or two. The only thing is that I can guess is it must be great having a father to make all of your worries go away, with him saying that he'll protect you from all of the evil that is out there to get you," Naruto wistfully stated, as there were a lot of things that he wondered of what life could have been like if a few things happened differently. It was in an instant that the negative thoughts that Karen had surrounding herself were gone, and her mind went into doctor mode, trying to heal the injuries of her date. Whether they be physical, like it was with his broken leg, or emotional when it came to the pain that he was feeling about being an orphan, they were all painful.
With a burning curiosity, Karen replied, "Naruto-kun, can you please tell me what it was like to grow up as an orphan?"
"Sure," Naruto said with a bit of a sigh. "I won't lie to you, it was tough." This immediately made Karen listen intently to what Naruto was saying.
"For some reason I always got a lot less than what all of the other kids got at the orphanage.
By the age of 7, I had been kicked out of the orphanage and into my own apartment so that I wouldn't ruin the chances of other kids getting adopted," Naruto stated, with no emotions on his face due to having mixed feeling about it. At this point, Karen gaped in horror at the thought of a child going through such traumatic experiences at such a young age. She didn't know how she would have been able to handle being told that you were not wanted around because you were ruining the chances of other kids finding a home. Despite having a dumbfounded look on her face, Karen still let Naruto continue on from where he was talking about his childhood. "The fund that is set up for orphans to get money to live off always seemed to give me the smallest amount possible without its integrity being brought into question," Naruto stated, as what he said was true. The Orphans Fund did its best job at making his life as close to hell as possible without getting the Sandaime to notice what they were doing, as they didn't want to incur the man's wrath. "There was one thing that truly made my life hell, though." This brought Karen's full and undivided attention, because she wanted to know what was so bad that made Naruto think that being an orphan was better than what it was that he was going through. "You know about how the Kyuubi attacked our village 12 years ago, right?" the blonde-haired boy questioned, confusing Karen, who didn't know where this conversation was going. Struggling, Naruto scratched the back of his head whilst turning around and looking over his shoulder, anxiety kicking in. Never had he told this story, and his nerves were kicking in hard. Instead of being able to kill the Kyuubi, all Konoha could do was seal it, but they had to seal it in a baby. I was the child that was chosen. Once word of this got out to everyone who lived in Konoha, they thought that I was the reincarnation of the nine-tailed fox, and then they started doing things to sabotage me, like barring me access to a hospital or a library. She couldn't believe what her date had just mentioned. To think that Naruto had so much that he was going up against, and yet he was still trying to make the most out of his situation, it was really inspiring. It was then that, before Naruto could go on about his childhood in more detail, the dishes that Naruto and Karen food arrived. If he was honest with himself, It was the best food he had ever had to eat, though that was not saying much because he only had rotten vegetables and ramen to compare it with. Once the duo had finished their dessert, Karen started asking Naruto questions about what his diet consisted of. She wanted to get Naruto onto the right track when it concerned his eating habits. Nodding, Karen put the final touches on her diet that she expected Naruto to follow. She wanted him to succeed as much as he did.
Here, have a look at it and tell me what you think, Karen said with excitement and pride easily evident in her voice.
Looking it over, Naruto saw how it stated all the different things that the body needed to have inside it so that it could work at peak performance. It was exactly what Naruto needed if he wanted to become a great shinobi in not only his eyes but the eyes of everyone in the shinobi continent. Even though there is some things on here that I do not know what they do for the body, you obviously do, so I will trust you in making the right decision for my health. As long as I follow this, I should have a body that is worthy of being in your presence, right? Naruto said with a small grin on his face as he was getting more and more used to flirting properly with Karen as the date continued. Karen for her part constantly had to readjust her glasses in a feeble attempt to hide her blushing face. She didn't want to look bad in front of Naruto, who was doing a good job in making her act like a stuttering mess all the time. It was then that the time that Naruto and Karen had been putting off for as long as possible. It was a moment that the duo had been dreading ever since Karen agreed to go out on a date with Naruto, as it was time for them to part ways.
Unfortunately, the restaurant had kicked them out as they had to prepare for the influx of customers for dinner.
Neither Karen or Naruto realized that they had spent 4 hours together, but they weren't complaining one bit. Their goodbye was surprisingly heartfelt and emotional. They both wished they were from the same village, because if they were, the two of them knew that there would be a second date in the works. Feelings of awkwardness ensued, and Karen fully expected to go back to the family apartment, swoon over how perfect the date was. Shocking Naruto, who could only gasp, Karen got a shred of confidence and placed her soft lips in a clumsy chaste kiss. When she initiated the kiss, the red-headed girl planted her lips on Naruto. She expected for the kiss to be a quick, chaste kiss, but she was wrong. They spent the good part of a minute, even though it only seemed like seconds to the two individuals, tried to work out what felt good for them by pressing their lips, taking them off and pressing them again in a slightly different way. Breaking apart, Karen realized what had just gone on and blushed so bad that she nearly fainted on the spot right then and there.
Naruto was not much better, as he was thankful for having the crutches.
They supported the weight of his jelly legs and allowed him to not fall down. Realizing what she had just done with a boy, Karen was shocked because she didn't know what her father would say to her. She could assume that he wouldn't be all that pleased with what she was doing. She immediately brought her hand up and started playing with her hair.
"Sorry, Naruto-kun, but I have to go because my dad wouldn't like to see what I'm doing and I don't want to disappoint him,"
Karen said in a rush as she gave Naruto one last chaste kiss on the lips before racing into her house and closing the door, jumped onto the couch and started swooning over the boy who had stolen her heart for the first time. There was a feeling of naughtiness in the back of her mind, knowing that what she had done was not something that her father would like happening. She honestly didn't care about that, though, as she was having the time of her. Naruto himself was shocked with what had just transpired just happened. He was certainly not expecting to have a proper kiss with a girl, let alone a great girl in Karen, but he was certainly not complaining. When the red-eyed beauty stated how she didn't want to make her father mad. With the time that he spent with Karen over, Naruto made his way slowly but surely to the apartment that Team 7 had been gifted for the time that they were in Kusa. It was then that the voice of Kakashi interrupted the trio. Whilst he directed what he said to his sensei's son, he purposefully said it loud enough so that Sasuke could hear it. "So Naruto, I hear you really like the color red," Kakashi asked the open-ended statement as he watched the face of Naruto give away a slight blush as he remembered the parting gift from Karen. It was then that Sasuke took in the appearance of Naruto and were surprised at the transformation he had gone under in just a little under a month. Then they tried to figure out the joke that Kakashi was saying, but the only thing they could see was the red medical gauze tape tying his pant legs from dragging on the ground. Realizing that it must have been a joke between Naruto and Kakashi, Sasuke turned his head away from Naruto and back to their previous trains of thought. Naruto, however, he saw the gleam in his sensei's uncovered eye, which was a telltale sign that his sensei knew what he had been doing for the whole day. Not giving his sensei the pleasure of seeing him in an uncomfortable situation, Naruto turned around and moved to the direction of his bedroom.
Kakashi-sensei, is it alright if I ask you a question? Naruto said politely to his sensei, who just responded with an amused expression on his face.
Well, Naruto, you just did. This managed to bring the ire of Naruto as he chuckled at the expression on the boy's face.
But yes, you may ask another question. Kakashi replied.
Well, Kakashi-sensei, I was hoping that it would be a possibility as to whether or not I could accompany you to the diplomatic mission.
Naruto stated to his sensei.
He knew that it was unlikely to happen, but there was certainly no harm in asking. Kakashi gave Naruto a curious yet somehow serious look as he tried to discern how serious Naruto was about this. It was not something that he could readily allow since it was such an important mission to the future of Konoha. After an intense stare down with his student, Kakashi finally relented and allowed Naruto to come on the proviso that the Kusa lead Jonin was accepting of having Naruto there.
If this goes ahead though, there are some rules that you must follow.
You must not speak at all during the entire conversations as it could affect the way that the discussion goes.
You will essentially be a fly on the wall and just take notes in your head if they do allow you in. They wouldn't allow you to have a book or paper in the room,
Kakashi said to his student.
Naruto nodded quickly as he was a little nervous around their sensei when he was serious.
It was something that he had never seen before and it was fairly scary for him. This was in comparison to who he was usually, a chronic pervert and someone who was always 3 hours late to anything below that of an A-ranked mission.
Well, what do we have here? Why is there someone else coming along with you?
I thought that we agreed on only there being us two here for the meeting, Kakashi-san. The man said in a polite tone, although Kakashi knew that the man was irritated quite a bit of the lack of respect for not telling him. And with that said, Kakashi replied with an eye smile that had been trademarked ever since he was a ninja. It was his way of being polite yet while still being a condescending arsehole at the same time. And yet you still have 3 members of your ANBU division here ready in position to strike, odd.
Kakashi questioned in a false cheery tone to say as if that he didn't know what he was doing in the room.
Taking the words of Kakashi in stride, the Jonin head of the room asked Naruto a question. Well, little boy, why is it that you are here and not out playing with your teammates? The man questioned to Naruto, who didn't know what to do as his sensei had told him not to speak.
Looking for guidance, Naruto got a head nod in return.
I have a dream to become the Hokage, sir. That means that I not only have to be a strong shinobi but I also have to be someone who is good in diplomatic situations, and generally as a ninja you don't get many opportunities to gain experience in that field. When Kakashi-sensei told me what we were doing for our mission, I had hopes that I could watch how 2 Jonin-level ninjas held talks between one another.
Naruto politely stated with small nod of the head as he demonstrated hopefully enough manners so that he could stay in the room.
Taken back by the amount of politeness that Naruto had shown, the Jonin commander was heavily impressed by Naruto's emotional control. Admittedly, he expected the other children his age be nowhere near as well-mannered as Naruto. Nodding at the non-specific question that Naruto had asked during his speech, the Jonin commander made a gesture for Naruto and Kakashi to take the seats that were in the room. I see from the crutches that you have with you, you must be the student of Kakashi's that got the broken leg. The man behind the desk stated as he looked at Naruto. The sole point was to start a conversation with the kid he was curious about.
Naruto merely nodded in reply. XXX.
The meeting went well, both parties being Kakashi Hatake and the Jonin commander of Sunagakure were happy with the outcome as they both thought that their village got the better deal. Konoha would be getting a much cheaper price than what other villages got when it came to the prices of the poisons that Sunagakure sold. In return, Sunagakure and in smaller portions the entire land of grass got better import costs when it came to red meat and grain food. Walking out of the room, Kakashi felt the need to ask Naruto as to what he had gathered during the meeting.
So Naruto, what happened?
The silver-haired Jonin asked as he was curious as to how good his sensei's son was in the art of deciphering hidden messages and how to look for people's telltale signs. Not even bothering to remove his gaze from the path that he was headlining on, Naruto spoke to his sensei.
Well, most of the things that I missed were due to the fact that I didn't know what you were talking about.
The only thing that I got when it came to him showing his emotions through his facial expressions was when you annoyed him. He had a tick in the area surrounding his right eye. I guess if I had training in the art of detecting people's emotions through their facial expressions, then I would have been able to get more. Naruto stated to his sensei, who looked impressed that Naruto managed to get that. For Kakashi, the change in Naruto's appearance and his personality was something that astounded him. In just 1 month, his sensei's son had gone from loud, obnoxious, and retarded to a smart, albeit someone who has no information in his head, polite, calm, most of the time anyway, and well-mannered person. The silver-haired Jonin wished he knew what he could attribute Naruto's change to so that he could thank the person. He knew it wasn't the Sandaime, as he had also been baffled by Naruto's new change. XXX. Now that they had gotten back to the apartment that Team 7 had been allocated, Kakashi was just about to leave the room so that he could go and check on Sasuke and Sakura to see what they were doing. Then, before he left, Naruto asked for something to do during the downtime. Well, Naruto, you should just practice the Academy Chakra Control exercise of sticking things to your body, as it will build up more chakra control. It is something that you are in desperate need of because of the QB. While you have abnormally large chakra reserves that are even greater than mine, you lack the control to take full advantage of the chakra inside you. It will also make learning jutsus easier so that they don't blow up in your face. Kakashi stated to Naruto, who took it in stride with his face giving off a bit of a grimace at the mentioning of the QB. The more things that are small and weigh quite a bit, the better your chakra control will be. So I guess I should get going and see what Sakura and Sasuke are doing. Kakashi said before he disappeared from view via the use of the Shunshin. XXX. Arriving the customary 3 hours late that he usually did, Kakashi told his team something different today instead of their usual teamwork training, which was subsequently followed up by the customary D-ranked missions. Today there will be a new form of training that you three will be doing. At this bold statement, everyone that was in the area, which, admittedly, was only Sasuke, Naruto, and Sakura, sharply turned their heads as they faced their sensei, as they wanted to know what this new form of training was going to involve. It's called tree climbing. And so begun the tale of Kakashi explaining how tree climbing worked. Use the kunai in front of you to mark how high you go up the tree. Each time try and do it just a little bit more than the last time so you can use it as motivation to get better. Kakashi stated as he wanted to see how his students progress when it came to their first real form of training. It was no surprise to the Jonin sensei of Team 7 as he watched how Naruto's foot rocketed off the tree. The raven-haired Uchiha was much the same in the fact that he attacked the tree with too much chakra, much like his genin teammate in Naruto. Compared to what Naruto and Sasuke had just done when it came to how good they had managed to control their chakra, Sakura was in a league of her own when it came to competing with her two teammates. For the pink-haired girl had made it all the way up to the 3rd branch. She was calmly sitting on the branch as she tried to impress her crush in how good she was with her chakra control. Oh, it looks like that one who best at controlling her chakra is Sakura, the girl. Kakashi commented as he tried to induce some feelings of jealousy in both Naruto and Sasuke. I wanted Sasuke-kun to compliment me, why does it always turn out like this? Sakura pessimistically thought to herself as she tried to gain the affections of Sasuke. The sensei of Team 7 was looking on with interest as he watched the interactions that Sasuke, Naruto, and Sakura were having with each other. Maybe it's Sakura and not someone else that is closest to becoming the Hokage right now, Kakashi said, with Naruto for his part looking down in concentration as he tried to not let the words of his sensei get to him. It wasn't only Naruto who was getting ribbing from Kakashi as Sasuke too got it. Maybe the Uchiha clan wasn't as great as what they were claimed to be. Kakashi trailed off as he watched the normally impassive face turn into a fierce scowl. Seeing what her sensei was trying to do, Sakura tried to get onto Sasuke's good side by sticking up for him and attacking her sensei, albeit verbally. Hey, shut up, sensei, Sakura stated as she had worries of her crush hating her. XXX. In the space of a month, where Team 7 had been working on their teamwork as well as the tree climbing exercise, Naruto was also furthering his skills as a ninja on the side. The first jutsu that Naruto learned was the wind release, great breakthrough jutsu to in layman's terms. It was just a massive gust of wind in a general direction that, if used by a strong enough ninja, was powerful enough that it could knock down trees. The second jutsu that Naruto learned was the wind release, violent wind palm jutsu. When reading about this jutsu, Naruto immediately saw other uses for this jutsu. He guessed that this jutsu would be able to repel all kinds of attacks except fire ninjutsus, since he knew what they could do, as he had been on the end of a combined wind and fire ninjutsu thanks to his teammate Sasuke. The main difference was the fact that this one didn't do as much damage in the direction it was sent.
Add to that how the jutsu required more control rather than brute force made it a jutsu that Naruto wanted to learn.
The major reason for this was how that Naruto could combine it with his kunai and shuriken that he threw so that the metallic weapons could sail through the air with more power behind them, which would make their cutting efficiency. When Naruto threw the kunai from his holsters in his left hand now instead of his right one and used it in combination with the new wind ninjutsu, Naruto watched in fascination as the kunai went through a tree before getting most of the way through a second one before it got caught. He was giddy, and this was compounded by how he was noticing his body changing over the past month, now that he was following Karen's diet plan.
With an increase in calcium due to drinking large amounts of milk, the Kyuubi went into overdrive, strengthening the skeletal system of Naruto.
In addition to having healthier bones, said bones were slowly being supported by ever-growing muscles. When Naruto looked into the recently purchased mirror, he saw that was changing for the better. His skin was looking healthier, there was more color to it. He was feeling better, had more energy, and filled out his clothes more. Slowly, his posture was becoming straighter and straighter due to achievement-based confidence.
XXX.
The customary shout of "you're late" woke Naruto out of his reverie. So sorry guys, this time there was a burst fire hydrant near the Hokage's office and I had to use my lightning manipulation to weld it together so that none of the water could come out, Kakashi said in what he thought was a believable tone of voice. The sad thing though was that since Sakura hadn't had much experience in determining a lie, she believed her sensei because she trusted him since he was one of her authority figures. Right, anyway, how about we go to the Hokage's tower so that we can get a new mission for today, the silver-haired jonin said to his 3 genin students with a nice smile, being used to give them a condescending smile that stated, everyone had to do ranked missions and you're no different. The reason why Kakashi did this was because he saw the looks of contempt grow on the faces of his students. It was none more so apparent on Sasuke's face as he showed his anger through his emotions.
Sakura was not much better, as he could guess that she was worried about having her clothes dirty.
Naruto on the other hand managed to hold in his distaste for the boring missions quite well, although to a seasoned Chunin or someone above, it was easy to tell that Naruto hated them just as much as his 2 other teammates did. Walking through Konoha, Team 7 made their way to the Hokage Tower, and it was not until that Sakura looked around and didn't spot a leaked fire hydrant anywhere around. It was at this moment that Sakura rapidly turned around and pointed an accusing finger at her sensei. You lied. You said that you had to fix a faulty fire hydrant today and that's why you were late. I should have known you didn't do anything worthwhile. You probably were just reading your pervy book, weren't you, Kakashi-sensei? Sakura said in an accusing tone of voice which, like usual, was very loud, which drew all of the people in the street and their attention onto Kakashi, amused at what was going on in front of them, as they all knew of the reputation that Kakashi had earned for himself being late.
It was then that the silver-haired jonin replied in usual Kakashi fashion by "Huh?
You say something," all the while never lifting his head out of his book to acknowledge her. This was something that made all of the people watching the interaction between sensei and student was something that made them laugh. Sakura for her part was beyond angry. She was livid, and that made her turn her head around and huff in anger and walk faster to their destination, hoping to find a mission so that she could get her mind off of how her sensei had just embarrassed her in public like that.
Hokage's office.
When all of Team 7 was standing in front of the Hokage, it was this time that Hiruzen Sarutobi started reading off of the paper in front of him that said what Team 7's next slated mission was. It says here that your next mission is to babysit Yoji Osama's baby boy, grocery shopping in a local town and helping to dig up some potatoes, the Hokage stated as he watched the interactions of Team 7. Initially, Hiruzen thought that Naruto would have folded sooner and demanded a better mission, much like that Inuzuka kid had done just a week ago, but Hiruzen was surprised with the amount of composure that Naruto was putting on display. It was then that Naruto cracked and finally started talking about getting a better mission. Hokage-sama, when Naruto used that, it made the old man cringe, as he wasn't sure whether he liked the new Naruto compared to the old one. The old one was so full of life and happy, it was as if Naruto was the exact replica of what his mother was like, apart from the pathetic fanboy tendencies that Naruto had towards Sakura. This new Naruto, on the other hand, was so much duller in the way he expressed his emotions and just didn't exude the same unbridled happiness that he once did. I think we, as a team, are more than ready for a C-ranked mission. When we were on our B-ranked diplomatic mission to Kusa and had to battle a seasoned Chunin ninja and won the battle with just a little bit of help from Kakashi-sensei at the end. Even before that we were holding our own, even beating a Chunin that was throwing around high B-ranked and low A-ranked jutsus at us, and we were winning at the time, weren't we, Sasuke? Naruto questioned to his male teammate. Said male teammate nodded as he caught onto the speech that Naruto was using to try and persuade the Hokage into giving their team a better mission. Amused at the way that Naruto was trying to sway his decision-making, the Sandaime Hokage decided to get into a battle of words with Naruto, and if Naruto could convince him, then he would allow the team to go on a C-ranked mission. Besides, they had Kakashi as their sensei. What's the worst that could happen? Oh, you say that you had the battle completely under control, you say, then what about how you Naruto suffered a broken leg during the mission? Naruto, care to explain that? The Sandaime said with an amused look on his face as he looked on at the blonde-haired boy try to get out of the situation he had just put himself in. Personally, I think that only proves my point even more so, as it shows that as a team, when we are faced with a small case of adversity, we power on through the tough time and get the mission completed just like any Chunin or Jonin would do. Naruto stated as he was using the natural charisma that he had in getting people to see his way of view and get them to follow his beliefs. Shocked and stunned at the words that Naruto had used to fuel his side of the argument, Hiruzen looked like he had just seen a ghost of Minato come and possess his son and tell him exactly the right words to say. Irika, who was standing there beside the Hokage, helping the man with the missions, was about to say something about Naruto needing experience in doing more mission before they could request a C-ranked mission, but hearing how Naruto talked about how he could pass through the pain barrier of a broken leg and still fight and win against a Chunin was something that told Irika that Naruto was ready for another mission. Looking at the new Naruto, Irika wasn't sure what to think. On the one hand, he liked the new Naruto a lot and how he was maturing ever since that incident. The new Naruto was much better suited to the life of a ninja now that he had mellowed out a little. Doing the right thing at the time, Irika kept his mouth shut and his opinions to himself as he watched how the Sandaime spoke to Team 7 about their new mission to the Land of Waves. Okay, I'll allow it. It was these words coming from the Sandaime Hokage that brought all of Team 7's attention onto the aging man, and they hung onto his every word in the hopes of hearing that they got a better mission. Somehow managing to keep the pipe that was lit in his mouth while speaking clearly, Hiruzen Sarutobi started speaking to the Genin team along with their sensei that was in front of him. I will allow you to take on a C-ranked mission, Hiruzen said as he mused what the outcome of the mission would be. Although he knew that if anything serious happened, then Kakashi could deal with relative ease. As soon as Hiruzen said this, he motioned a hand so that the Chunin doing guard duty would allow the client of Team 7 to come into the room. It was then that Kakashi Hatake and the three genin that made up his team were greeted with the sight of a drunken old man walking in with not much stability. As he walked in the room, he had to rest on the wall as he took a few massive gulps of the liquor from the bottle. To Naruto's eyes, the amount of disrespect the man was showing was ludicrous. If Naruto had been in the Hokage's shoes when the man entered drunk and practically off of his feet, well, Naruto would have been highly insulted and could very well possibly deny a mission. Naruto didn't voice his opinion as he didn't want to ruin the good faith that he had shown his boss to get the mission in the first place. What is this bullshit? I hired ninjas, not some wet behind the ears brats. I mean, look at the short one. Is he even old enough to go to your ninja training school, let alone even be a ninja? Tazuna wildly questioned as the alcohol in his bottle sloshed around as he tried to stand up, although that was hard since he was absolutely wasted. While Naruto had been growing rapidly thanks to the influx of nutrients that his body so desperately needed, Naruto growth spurt was not due to kick in for another few months. I am the master bridge building expert Tazuna. At this point the grandfather paused so he could gather his bearings as he was seeing two of Sakura at the moment. Once I have returned to my country, I will have all of you protect my life with yours while I complete the bridge, Tazuna said to the group of 4 ninjas that he had paid to protect him. Very well then, we will meet you 2 hours at the front gate of Konoha to go and complete the mission, okay? Kakashi asked to the client, who only nodded in his drunken haze and backed out of the room clumsily, almost tripping over. It was then that Naruto commented on who his first client on a mission that went outside of Konoha. That man. I hope this mission ends quickly because I don't want to spend much time around him at all, Naruto said to his 2 teammates, who both nodded as they equally didn't like the guy that questioned their status as a ninja. Right then, Team 7 go home and get packed for the mission, which, considering the scroll here, it says that we will be gone for about a month, Kakashi said with a smile on his face as he wanted to see how his students reacted to finding out that they had to spend a whole month with the drunken old man. The groan that came from all of them was music to Kakashi's ears.
XXX.
It was not that hard for Naruto to pack all of his clothes and all of the other things that he needed for his journey to Wave Country. Once that was all done, Naruto went down to the Ichiraku ramen bar so that he could have a snack and have a conversation with Ayam and Tucci about what was going on in their lives at the moment.
XXX.
As soon as Naruto and Kakashi arrived at the front gates of Konoha and made their presence known, it was then that Sakura, not even thinking that Naruto might have gone through something traumatic, and just rattled off in her usual loud tone of voice.
Naruto Baka. Where have you been?
We have been waiting just over half an hour for you to get here, the pink-haired girl all but screamed, which, directed at Naruto, was enough for all of the people in a 15 m radius to hear and made them listen intently to the conversation to see what the demon host would do.
Sakura, shut up, the blonde-haired boy said in an unusually cold voice that took Sakura by shock for a second.
It was then that, since Sakura was a fairly spoilt girl with her childhood friendship Ino not helping it as much, thought that with Naruto having feelings for her, if she demanded what she wanted, she would get the answers that she sought.
No, Naruto.
Do you know how badly this could affect our mission record? Sasuke-kun might not be able to do another mission for a long time since you were so selfish that you would hinder the chances of Sasuke-kun?
Sakura said in a tone that easily made anyone around her know that she was angry.
Where do you think you have been, boy? I could have been home with my family and building my super bridge, but no, you had to be selfish and make others have to suffer from your actions. The drunken man said as his booze sloshed and struggled to keep his balance.
My offer still stands about your family, Tazuna, was it?
So I suggest that you watch your mouth, or there will be the deaths of your family on your guilty conscience for the rest of your miserable life.
If you don't want this to happen, then I suggest that your mouth stops moving.
Naruto said with the coldest tone he had used so far in all of his life, and it was one that scared Sakura to no end, as she still had delusions of Naruto soon reverting to the orange-wearing idiot that he once was. Looking at everything that had just transpired in front of him, Kakashi sighed and hoped that the mission could go quickly and end as soon as possible, because he was not sure how he was going to survive it if it didn't start getting better. Whilst Naruto was right to feel annoyed, it was concerning to see such a shift from the blonde.
He was going to have to monitor this. XXX.
Thanks to Tazuna being a civilian, it meant that Team 7 was limited to a walking pace, one which an old, unfit drunken man could keep up with.
In the mind of the raven-haired Uchiha, the boy was getting increasingly agitated, as he had been expecting at least some form of battle with some inept mercenaries, but to no avail. There had been none of the sword fight break out, although that was soon about to change. With the conversation between his student now over, Kakashi now turned his attention from Sakura and onto the path where the silver-haired Jonin noticed a puddle on the side of the road. He knew that it hadn't rained in the last few days. Kakashi instantly knew that it was a shinobi team, and he was curious as to seeing what would happen. Coming out of the puddle, the two Chunin from the Mist Village raced towards the sensei of Team 7 with their dual gauntlet chain combination. The blonde-haired boy was the first one to react as he jumped back to get more distance between him and the two demon brothers who were going for him next. Wind release, air bullet jutsu, Naruto called out as he blasted a bullet of compressed air out of his mouth and at the slight gap in between his two enemies. Doing the instinctual thing, the two Chunin brothers from Kiri dodged the way that cost them the least amount of effort, considering they thought that their genin opponent was being cocky and trying to take the two of them out with the one jutsu. The force in which the wind-released jutsu was so powerful that it broke the chain in half, so that the demon brothers were now not connected by the metal link. Having had enough of sitting back and allowing Naruto to take all of what he thought was his time to gain experience, Sasuke entered the battle and took Meizu out of Naruto's hands, which was fine by Naruto. He saw this and rushed towards Gozu to take his attention away from helping his brother versus Sasuke and kept him focused on himself. Engaging in a taijutsu battle was something that Naruto liked, as it allowed him to get up close and personal to his opponent, in which Naruto could use his size to his advantage. With a little right-hand chakra enhancing his strikes, Kakashi dropped down from out of nowhere, it seemed, in the mind of Sakura and struck the two Chunins from the Mist Village in the back of the neck. It was faster than anyone could follow, which made Gozu and Meizu drop down like a sack of potatoes, as their bodies couldn't handle the pressure. As Kakashi went over to the two former Chunin, he prepared to tie them down.
It was then that the pink-haired Kunoichi's voice rang through the pathway.
"Kakashi-sensei, you're all right."
Sakura exclaimed with happiness, as she didn't know what she would have done if she had lost her sensei then. It was then that the Kunoichi of the year asked a question that Kakashi hoped that she would have known without needing the answer.
How did you manage to escape?
Sakura questioned with confusion as she didn't see anything to alleviate her worries when her sensei disappeared right in front of her very eyes. For his reply, all the silver-haired jonin did was glance in the direction of where he replaced himself with the log.
TCH, show off, I could have handled my opponent, but Kakashi just had to drop in and take away my battle.
The good thing was though that he also did it to Naruto so that he couldn't get any experience as well.
Sensei didn't have to do that as I was fairly confident in the fact that I could win my battle, oh well.
At least this time I didn't freeze up like that slight little hesitation I had in my last mission.
These were the respective thoughts of Sasuke and Naruto as they watched their sensei to see what he was doing as whatever it was sure making Tazuna sweat quite a lot.
Since Kakashi had such good control over his killing intent, it was only Tazuna that was feeling the effects as he got stared down by Kakashi who was waiting for an explanation. He wanted to know why there were people who were trying to kill him and that they were desperate enough to send ninjas to do the job. Stammering, Tazuna did his best to gather what little control he had over his emotions as he felt as if he was Scarecrow, only that he was a failing Scarecrow and there was all these crows circling above wanting to take him down.
You're right, there is a super dangerous man after my life.
Hiding the fact that he was laughing at his client because he always used the word super, Kakashi replied in his usual nonchalant tone of voice, although one could tell that his eye was firmly directed on Tazuna to detect whether or not the man was lying as he spoke.
Super, huh? Kakashi replied, coercing the information out of the bridge builder.
Not knowing that Kakashi was mocking him, Tazuna sighed and spoke up.
Yeah, you probably already know who I'm talking about. His name is Gatu.
The grandfather said to Kakashi, which invoked a look of shock from Kakashi.
Ha, Gatu, from that shipping company? He's said to be one of the richest men in the world.
The silver-haired jonin said as he was astounded to find out someone so wealthy was after his client.
This opened up a whole new range of possibilities in terms of who could be coming next.
Thankful that Kakashi knew who he was talking about, Tazuna started speaking again to shed some light as to why the filthy businessman wanted his head. Yes, officially he runs a large shipping company, but underneath the surface, he sells drugs and other illegal items using ninja and gang members to take over businesses and countries.
He's a very nasty man.
Tazuna said, to which after he finished speaking, he took a swig from his bottle of sake. Continuing from where he left it before, Tazuna started speaking once again. It was about a year ago when that Gata turned his sights onto Wave Country. Through money and violence he quickly took control over the whole entire country's shipping industry, which is our biggest asset as a nation. Gata now has a complete monopoly on all of the country and business that goes through the place. The only thing that he has to fear is the completion of the bridge, since it would end his monopoly on the way people could get things to and from Wave Country. The Wave Country is super poor and even the daimyo of the land is super poor, that's why we don't have enough money to pay for a B-ranked mission.
Tazuna said as if he was obscenely pessimistic that he was going to die in the next few minutes.
It was then that Tazuna saw that his speech was not going to well and tried another way to get them to help his cause.
If you abandon the mission now, I will surely be killed.
But don't worry about it, if I die, my cute 10-year-old grandson will just cry for a few days. Tazuna said as he tried to guilt his way to the safety of home with the ninjas guarding him. It was then that Naruto had had enough, made his way into the conversation as he hated the way in which Tazuna was trying to guilt them. He was speaking to people that had a far harsher childhood than what this supposed grandson would have with losing a grandfather. The way he said it, the kid would still have a mother or father.
Naruto always was quick-witted. It was evident in the battle plans that he thought up on the fly.
Now, having spent a lot of time in the library, it wasn't just limited to fights.
It will be good character building for the kid.
You're speaking to ninjas, people who have much harder lives than what you civilians could even dream of, and yet you don't see us complaining about what life has dealt. We all had to go through these things when we were young, so it is not as if you can say that he is too young to go through something like that. Some have our own family commit the worst form of betrayal, others are an orphan from birth.
What you are saying isn't that new to us.
Naruto said in a cold tone as he had never got along well with his client from the moment he had walked into the Hokage's office all drunk. Now that he was lying on the difficulty of the mission, it just made Naruto mad in addition to the extra adrenaline running through his body from just having fought. Sakura for her part was shocked that Naruto would so openly suggest traumatizing a child by the death of a family member. She could not even utter a reply to what her blonde-haired teammate had just said. Sasuke and Kakashi on the other hand were both in agreement with what Naruto had just said. They also had suffered a harsh upbringing, and the thought of only hearing that your grandfather died was something that was totally minute in comparison to what they had gone through. Shocked at what the blonde-haired kid had just said to him, Tazuna rapidly tried to think of a way that would make the team of ninjas come with him to protect his home. Oh yeah, my daughter will also live a sad life cursing the village hidden in the leaves forever since they allowed her father to die, Tazuna said as he tried to dig himself out of the hole that he was in. Sadly for the man, things didn't go as well as he had hoped. Naruto, acting much like the clan that he was hoping to join in the near future, sensed that the man was very much afraid and struck for the kill. She will not even know that you made it to the Leaf Village in the first place because you could have just as easily died by someone sent by Gata to kill you. That is more of a possibility than us failing to protect you. Looking at your facial expression, you know this as well as we do, so how about you come up with a valuable reason as to why we should help you? Otherwise, as protocol states, we will be leaving shortly to inform of an incorrect mission ranking and your family will be forced to pay for a B-ranked mission. This mission has been upgraded now that there are Chunin from a hidden village that tried to attack you, Naruto said without much care in the world for what would happen to Tazuna or his family. He had never gotten along with the man and thought that this was poetic justice for lying and endangering the ninja that he had hired thanks to the botched ranking. Let it not be said that intentional false mission ranking was a serious crime, as it needlessly put lives at risk more than what they already were. Having nothing on his mind to say in return since he was practically off of his face with liquor, the grandfather fell down to the ground and started crying heavily. He did not want to face the reality of everything coming down and crashing whatever little hope he had of returning his homeland to its former glory. Impressed with the way how Naruto had handled the client, Kakashi nodded to Naruto, who looked up to him as if he had done something right. He was met with an eye smile. Sasuke on his part was cursing himself for not speaking up. Had he spoken up, he might have been able to swing the mission into his favor and get his team to go on the mission and hopefully battle more experienced enemies so that he could test out his recently activated Sharingan. Sakura for her part was both proud and scared at what Naruto had just done. On one hand, she was proud because Naruto was able to stand up to a client when she knew that she wouldn't have been able to do that. On the other hand though, what Naruto had just done was cruel and wondered if Naruto would get worse as time went on. Feeling some form of sympathy for his former client, Kakashi turned around and spoke to the crying old man to try and ease his conscience on the fact that he was condemning a whole country to a tyrannic rule. It was not something that Kakashi was unfamiliar with, as he had been witness to a whole lot of things from when he was in the ANBU, but it was never an easy thing to do. Tazuna-san, had you come to the Hokage and told him the truth about your situation, then he would have easily set up a payment plan in which the proper shinobi team could be assembled for the mission and that you could pay the cost of the mission over time as your village gets out of its depression. But since you chose to lie about mission rankings, which is one of the most frowned upon things one can do to a ninja, this will be the termination of your contract with the Hidden Leaf Village, Kakashi stated in a diplomatic tone. Turning his attention from the man, Kakashi looked at his own team and started talking in a commanding tone of voice. Now team, we will be heading off now. And with that said, Kakashi leapt up into the tree line, shortly followed by Naruto, Sasuke and Sakura as they started moving on their way to home at a much faster speed in which they were walking at the last 2 days. Once the pace had been set for a while and that they had gotten into a steady rhythm, it was finally time that Sakura asked Naruto a question on her mind. Naruto, don't you think that you were harsh on Tazuna? The old Naruto would have never done that. He would have tried to save them. Sakura questioned softly but started getting louder and louder as she neared the end of her sentence. What Naruto did not know was that both Sasuke and Kakashi were listening intently as to what was going on, as they wanted to know why Naruto said what he did. It was then that the 3 members of Team 7 got the reply from Naruto. Recently, I have been going to the library quite a bit and I have been reading a book on what exactly the Hokage did because I still want to become the Hokage. It was then that the answer came to Kakashi, although Sasuke and Sakura didn't know, so Naruto had to explain in more detail. The Hokage is the person who has to do everything that is in the best interest of Konoha. For Konoha, it would be better if we didn't possibly lose 4 of our ninja, especially with one being the last of his bloodline clan. Konoha would want for him to have children so that the power that the Uchiha once had was back up at full force compared to saving a different country from a tyranny which could possibly make us lose one of Konoha's elite jonin. Naruto stated, to which Sasuke and Sakura got what Naruto was saying, but they also got the hidden message that sometimes you needed to make the hard decisions rather than the easy ones.
It was then that Naruto tried to lessen the mood by adding a joke.
Plus, at least I got us away from that drunken old man. I absolutely hated him and was thankful for getting out of having to spend a whole month considering how loudly he snored. Naruto said with a bit of a grin on his face as he could finally get a good night of sleep. This was a statement that no one a part of Team Kakashi could refute, as the drunken old man snored so loudly that it was really hard to get to sleep. What made it worse was that thanks to the alcohol in his system, when he went to bed he was asleep in a couple of minutes. For someone like Kakashi who had trained to wake up at the sound of a pin drop, it was an absolute nightmare, as he had gotten about 3 hours sleep over the last 2 days and was thankfully looking towards a larger amount of shut-eye.
XXX.
Seeing as though he could give his team some indirect training without the fear of anything happening now that they didn't have a client to worry about, this was in the form of being the night watchman through shifts. Now that there was light coming into the campsite thanks to it getting closer and closer to the summer months, the silver-haired jonin now had time to write the report of the mission to send to Sarutobi about what had happened. The mission was going smoothly for the first 2 days until it was when I noticed a puddle on the third day that I knew something was up. It turns out that there was actually the demon brothers, some Miss Chunin Nuknin, had been hired to take out our client, and then I decided to see how the team would handle it without men, and I faked my own death to see where the Chunin attacked Naruto. Naruto then used a wind release attack and broke the chain of the 2 Chunin. After that, both Naruto and Sasuke battled the 2 Chunin via the use of taijutsu. In the end I apprehended the Chunin and sent a message to you to get some ANBU to pick up the demon brothers and take them to prison. This is where it gets weird. The client then went on about how Gata from Gata Shipping Company was holding the whole entire wave country under a tyranny thanks to using illegal methods to create monopolies. When the man tried to guilt our team into taking the mission, Naruto spoke in a cold fashion to Tazuna about how the client dying would be good character building for the kid. When we left off for home, my female student asked Naruto why he did what he did, because she was scared that Naruto was deviating a little too quickly from what he once was into, a something somewhat akin to Orochimaru. Though Naruto said something that will ease my mind on comparing Naruto to Orochimaru. He said that he had been reading on what a Kage should do and Naruto did what was best for Konoha. I would like to request a few more missions that we can take on the road after making a stop in Konoha to pick the scrolls up so that I can see just how far Naruto is changing and whether it is a cause for concern and if I should do something about it. Kakashi Hatake. After finishing writing the on the paper, Kakashi silently summoned Baisuke to take the message and deliver it to the Sandaime Hokage via the summons world so that Hiruzen could have knowledge on why the mission went haywire. This was all done without Sasuke, Sakura, or Naruto finding out, as they were all sleeping like a rock, although Naruto had not gotten control of his habit of moving around whilst he slept. Thankfully he was in a fairly tight sleeping bag which compensated for the moving around. Having arrived in the village for mere moments, enough for Kakashi to get some mission scrolls, Team 7 was on their way out again. Once they were down at the main gates of Konoha, Kakashi spotted the old couple casually sitting down on the benches they held hand in hand, which clearly showed that they were happy and liking their time in Konoha. It was then that the silver-haired jonin walked up to the couple and started speaking to them. "Hello, my name is Kakashi Hatake and I, along with my students, are going to be the ninjas that you hired. I hope that you are happy and are alright with that?" Kakashi said in a lightly questioning tone of voice. This was just fine with the couple, as it gave them some time to spend with children who were the ages of what their possible grandchildren could have been if their son had not died in the Third Shinobi War. Since they never had grandchildren to spoil, combined with the fact that they were fairly well off, when the elderly couple went on holidays, they always made it a point to hire a genin team. This was so that they could spend time with children, as the ninja children generally were a bit more mature compared to what civilian kids of the same age would be. It was the female civilian out of the couple that spoke up to Kakashi. "Yes, that is all right. I hope that your students are well-mannered, because kids at that age can be very unruly." The reason why last part was said was because on their way from their town in the south of Fire Country on the water's edge, they had the unfortunate luck in having to have the mighty Madogai as the Jonin sensei. That mission was one that they would rather forget. Yes, my students are well-mannered and will be happy to guard you in the event of a bandit or even some low-trained ninja. Kakashi said in a tone that made the client's reassurance that they would be getting home safely go up. It was then that they noticed the three students standing a bit off to the left of the sensei who they guessed were their students. Looking over at them, the elderly couple were instantly pleased that there were no signs of whack job tendencies in the team compared to the last team that they had the pleasure of doing business with. Those green spandex suits would cause horrific nightmares for many more nights to come, not to mention that sunset as well. It was nearly all too much and made Kumiko have a heart attack at the sight.
Right then, how about we get the mission started then, shall we?
Kakashi questioned to the elderly couple, who smiled and nodded and got up with a slight bit of difficulty and picked up their bags so that they could finally get home. After having gotten past Kotetsu and Izumo, Team 7 along with their clients set out to the south of Fire Country. Naruto, seeing the trouble that the couple was going through, thought that the mission would go faster if the two old people didn't have to lug around all of their luggage with them. That was why he called the proceedings to a stop and got out a scroll from his backpack. Starting a conversation with the clients, Naruto started speaking.
Would you like me to seal away your luggage so that you don't have to worry about dragging it along yourselves?
Naruto asked in a polite tone, as he felt that it was prudent to get more experience working with clients since the last failed mission. The smile that was on the woman's face was one that Naruto was definitely not used to and felt uncomfortable. This was paramount when said lady walked up to him and enveloped him in a big hug. Releasing him from the confines of her chest, Kumiko spoke in a cheerful tone when addressing Naruto.
Oh my, do you see here, Mizuno? These Konoha shinobi are such nice people.
Back in my day, the ninjas didn't even offer to help the client, and yet, the last two times we've needed ninjas we've gotten such great people. Even if the last group with that weird green spandex kid and his even weirder green spandex wearing sensei were total nutjobs who should be in the mental ward at the hospital, they were such nice people in offering to get us to Konoha quicker.
Kumiko beamed as she definitely liked the treatment she was receiving from Naruto.
Kakashi for his part couldn't help but snicker at the way his client spoke of Guy, so much so that it made Kumiko turn on him. "Oh, you there, what's so funny?" the elderly lady said as she was confused as to why Kakashi was chuckling. With a nice smile, Kakashi replied to the client, a client so nice that he had a hard time remembering the last time they were so outgoing and friendly. "Oh, it's just that I have to work with the nutjob, green spandex wearing sensei who needs to go to the mental ward on a regular basis, and that, by far, is the best description that anyone has come up with to describe him." Not really sure what to say to that, Naruto and Kumiko turned their attention to the luggage, in which the civilian of the pair watched how Naruto stored their luggage into the scroll before putting it into his backpack.
"There, all done," Naruto said with a small smile on his face.
Wishing that she knew what Naruto had just done so that she could do it herself, the old lady grinned and gave Naruto a big hug. Scoffing at the attention that Naruto was receiving, Sasuke knew that what Naruto had just done was not special at all, so he wondered why Naruto was getting so much attention.
XXX. In the end, Naruto, Sakura and Sasuke learnt a lesson on the mission that went for 3 days. In some cases, your mission does not have to have any excitement in them. In fact, most missions that were ranked as a C-class mission did not have many forms of excitement, as they are mostly just for the security in case something does go wrong. This was highly visible in the third ever mission that Team 7 went on, as nothing happened and most of the time was spent between the elderly couple trying to get to know the Genin team. When they got the message that Sasuke was a very antisocial person in life, they stopped trying to speak with him and just spoke with Kakashi, Naruto and Sakura instead. For some strange reason, in the eyes of Sasuke, he was feeling a pang of emotion that he had not felt in a long time. That was the feeling of watching people around him have fun, and yet here he was by himself, although this time it was his own doing, and it was something that Sasuke somewhat regretted. With the unsealing of the client's luggage and waving goodbye, it meant that it was time to say goodbye, and Naruto was the happiest he had ever been whilst on a mission. The clients treated him like a normal kid and he loved it. Since we have to have the mission done by the week, as that is the deadline, it gives us enough time to learn a new chakra control exercise, allowing your jutsus to be even more effective.
This is an exercise that should be especially easy for you, Sakura, since you have such great chakra control. What Kakashi decided not to mention was the fact that the only reason Sakura had such good chakra control was because she had so little of the substance.
Alright, what you are going to learn today is called water walking.
All of Team Kakashi were giddy at the new training exercise because no matter how old you were, walking on water was something that never lost its appeal. Hearing that you could get so good that you might have to fight on water as if it was the land was fuel to the determination of Sasuke and Naruto, hoping to get to that point. Wading in ankle-deep water, Naruto juggled the balance of chakra required, hoping to get this down as soon as possible. XXX. Once everyone was in position and ready to carry out their mission's orders, Kakashi used the hands-free radio system to initiate the plan. It was go time, and the bandits that were trying to make some easy money by stealing a few rich kids had no idea what was coming their way as they got swiftly taken out by the flying pieces of metal courtesy of Naruto and Sasuke. Thanks to Naruto finding out that he was actually left-handed compared to the right-handed that he had always been led to believe thanks to Konoha's Ninja Academy, Naruto now had the proper means to control the power behind his throws and make them deadly accurate. This was paramount in the way that the three kunai that Naruto had thrown went sailing through the air at speeds that only a Chunin-level ninja would be able to spot, let alone dodge towards his enemy, and sunk into the flesh right in the neck where it would be instant death. Snakes kill, it's survival of the fittest, and I did what needed to be done. Sakura for her part did pretty well at seeing the bodies drop to the ground and quickly ran towards the kids and got them to stop crying as she took control over the situation and issued them towards safety. Jumping down in front of Sakura, both Naruto and Sasuke heard how there was a noise, and then about a minute later, rushing towards where the two male genin were standing, were about roughly 10 bandits. The thing that both shocked and excited Naruto and Sasuke. They were Konoha missing nins. With a look shared between the two, Naruto and Sasuke instantly knew what the other was thinking. Going through hand signs, Naruto and Sasuke called out their respective jutsus. Katan, Gokaki no Jutsu, Fire Release, Grand Fireball Jutsu, Sasuke shouted as he put his tiger hand sealed hands to his mouth and released an even bigger fireball compared to what his previous best was, thanks to his new training in water walking. It was much the same with Naruto, as he definitely did not expect for his wind release ninjutsu to be as powerful as he was. Futon, Fudangan no Jutsu, Wind Release, Air Bullet Jutsu. This was why there was a look of awe on both his and Sasuke's face as they watched their combined masterpiece decimate the enemies. It was unfortunate in the eyes of the genin missing ninjas that there was only 4 people that lived from the fireball that had just claimed the lives of 6 bandits, and with everyone else that survived sustaining fairly significant injuries to all over their bodies. Not being one to not take advantage of a situation that he was in, Naruto charged it from what he could guess was a missing ninja from the Akimichi clan at his fastest speed, since he knew that they traded power for speed, and that was what he was trying to use to win his battle. Not wanting to be outdone by someone that he now considered a rival, since Naruto was rapidly growing stronger by the day and was catching up to him, Sasuke launched at his opponent, who coincidentally was a member of the Hyuga clan, and from what Sasuke could tell, he was a branch member, as he had his forehead protector around his forehead, not wanting to display his swastika-shaped Juinjutsu. Finally, I now have someone that I can test my Sharingan on. It's even better that this person is a Hyuga so that I can prove why my bloodline is so much better than their pathetic Byakugan. Closing his eyes for a second so that he could gather up the necessary chakra to turn on his Sharingan, Sasuke opened his eyes to show that the pupils had now changed from an obsidian black to a red backing with a black iris along with 2 tomos in each eye. Shouldn't you activate your Byakugan? Sasuke said with Sharingan eyes as he looked down to the person that he thought had the inferior dojutsu. The sight of raw anger spreading across the face of his opponent was something that made Sasuke instantly know that his Hyuga enemy couldn't actually activate his clan's prized dojutsu. Haha, you became a missing ninja all because you couldn't unlock some inferior second-rate bloodline? Allow me to show you what someone can do when they have a real dojutsu. Sasuke proudly said as he channeled some chakra into his eyes, which made them glow red. Growling in anger at the insult, the 18-year-old genin missing ninja that hailed from the Hyuga clan charged at the lone Uchiha as he only saw rage as he tried to take down the kid from the opposing clan. With Naruto. Naruto for his part, just before he was about to go into battle with the Akimichi, remembered what Choji was like when he got called fat and went into blind rage until the person that called him fat was not moving. This gave him the clear message not to antagonize his enemy on his weight, as it would make him run on adrenaline, which would make him faster than normal, and since Naruto would be relying on his speed to get the win, he wanted to have every advantage as possible. Looking at the confident and what some people would call arrogant expression on the face of the Akimichi clan member, Naruto chose to use this in his favor, as in life he was used to being underestimated in his fights and in life in general, only for him to overcome these odds, so that part of the fight was nothing new to Naruto. Using his academy-style cookie-cutter taijutsu, Naruto charged in at his opponent, who looked as if he was going to toy with Naruto. It was then that when the blonde-haired boy got close to him did he truly realize just who his opponent was. "Oh, I'm versing the demon, how wonderful is that? When I kill you and send your rotting corpse back to Konoha, I will be upgraded from a measly C-ranked missing nin into at least a B-ranked one." The rotund, recently turned adult in the eyes of a civilian, said menacingly as he dodged the punch coming from Naruto and countered with his own punch, this one though having much more power behind it compared to Naruto's. Dodging the punch from the Akimichi, Naruto saw that he would get nowhere at all against an Akimichi, since his punches didn't pack anywhere near as much force as what his enemies did. This was why he pulled out 2 kunais from his kunai holster and held them both in a reverse grip and re-engaged his opponent. Still being cocky at the fact that he thought that there was no way he could lose, the Akimichi kept at his new attack, which was using his Hijitsu, Buban Baika no Jutsu, Akimichi clan secret jutsu, partial expansion jutsu, using both of his arms to attack Naruto with, as he was lazy and wanting to take the fight seriously since he guessed that it was Naruto's first real fight. Naruto, taking advantage of the sloppy attacking, jammed the kunai in his left hand right into the right forearm of the Akimichi man. To make matters worse for the large man, Naruto was unconsciously channeling wind-natured chakra into the pieces of metal. The slight augmentation of the blade's cutting ability made it so that the whole blade of the kunai went straight through the flesh and in between the 2 bones that made up that Akimichi's right forearm. Howling in pain, the rotund man quickly cancelled his jutsu and brought his arms back to normal size so that he could prepare his next jutsu, which would end the match, as he thought that it was unbeatable thanks to the small space that he and the demon were fighting in, thanks to the high cliffs surrounding them. Doing his hand signs despite the immense pain that he was feeling in his right arm, the Akimichi called out the technique that he thought that would end the match. Since his way of ending the match was a twofold jutsu combination, the Akimichi man called out the first move. Hijitsu, Baika no Jutsu, Akimichi clan secret jutsu, expansion jutsu. The teenager who was fat before called out as he now had changed his appearance into that of a sphere with arms, legs and a head instead of a human. With done, the man called out the other part of his plan in killing the demon and getting heaps of praise from his former home. Hijitsu, Nikuden Shinsha, Akimichi clan secret jutsu, human bullet tank jutsu. The man called out as his arms, legs and head all came inside the sphere and charged straight for Naruto. Dodging the large ball coming at him, Naruto looked around to see if there was anything that he could use for his advantage to get the thing to stop. Seeing the rocky cliff faces that surrounded him, Naruto came up with the perfect idea to win the fight. Seeing that there was a point in which the 2 cliff faces that he and Sasuke were fighting in, Naruto put his plan into motion in getting the Akimichi to be permanently put to sleep. Dodging the bouncing off of the walls of the cliffs on either side of him, Naruto purposely dodged by going backwards into the point in which the 2 cliffs met as he baited the rolling ball to where he wanted it to go. When Naruto was in the final position that would spell the end for the Akimichi, Naruto waited for the right moment in which he timed his jump to near perfection as he jumped with the chakra enhancing his muscles and just got high enough to dodge the large rotund ball. Falling down onto his feet as he faced the behind of the Akimichi ball as it neared the dead end of the cliffs, Naruto did his jutsu. Forming his hands in the snake seal, Naruto pushed them out from the core of his body as he called out the name of the technique. Futon, de Tapa. Wind release, great breakthrough. The blonde-haired boy called out as he made the massive gust of wind generate from his hands and pushed it towards the ball, making its speed increase exponentially. That was why it was no surprise to Naruto that when the sphere of flesh collided with the cliff at such speeds that it created G-forces in excess of over 25 Gs. This was created by the sudden stop when colliding at a speed that he could not bounce off and had to take the full impact head-on. This amount of horizontal G-force came with enough pressure that it broke the spinal column of the Akimichi man. Not wanting to take a chance even if his enemy had been defeated, Naruto got out a kunai from his pocket and threw it hard and fast, watching how the metal impacted with the windpipe of the Akimichi and watched him die within a few seconds. Despite having just murdered the man, the Uzumaki liked to think he had a code. Jumping onto one of the cliff faces, he placed a ceiling tag on the wall and let it explode, giving the enemy ninja a burial. XXX. Wanting to test out how good his Sharingan was in battle, Sasuke activated his bloodline limit and charged at the Hyuga ninja. Feinting to the right with him jabbing forward with his right hand, Sasuke telegraphed such a blatant attack that his opponent got cocky. It was only when it was too late did he see the other hand clock his jaw. Growling, the Hyuga leapt back as he prepared himself mentally to take it up a notch. 5 minutes later and there was still no clear-cut person who had the advantage going by the facial expressions on the faces of Sasuke and his opponent. Two of them were both panting as Sasuke's endurance was slowly wearing down and the Hyuga was not much better as he constantly had to use chakra to fuel his formidable taijutsu style. I need to get better at lasting longer in fights, Sasuke thought to himself. Jumping back, Sasuke went through a string of hand seals. Fire release, Grand Fireball Jutsu. Expecting his opponent to dodge the fireball coming towards him, Sasuke waited patiently. Seeing him jump to the left, Sasuke used the replacement jutsu to close the gap. Normally it was used as a defensive technique. Lightning release, false darkness jutsu, Sasuke called out as he watched the small bit of fear etch onto the face of his enemy before he tried to dodge the attack. Despite the attack not being at full power, it was still powerful enough that the lightning pierced through his rib cage and went through a lung. Happy that it wasn't him that was on the receiving end of the jutsu, Sasuke also had the dream that instead, it was Itachi on the receiving end. It was then that the voice of Kakashi ran into his ears and made the Uchiha boy turn his attention to his sensei. Bravo Sasuke, bravo, you did well in that fight. I must say that I am surprised that you can use lightning release techniques. If I was to guess by the way that you did the jutsu, I would say that lightning was your element instead of fire the Uchiha clan is so famous for. Kakashi mused to his student who didn't know what to feel. Having a question on his mind, Sasuke spoke up wanting to get answers. What was that big noise a while ago? Did you have to fight an enemy or something? Sasuke asked, doubting that either of his teammates were capable of that. Oh, that was the culmination of Naruto's battle with his opponent, Kakashi said in his usual aloof tone as he watched Sasuke's face to see what would happen. He was not surprised when he saw the anger come in spades before it quickly disappeared into that of an arrogant smirk. Humph, if I hadn't wanted to test out my Sharingan out and get better with it, I could have easily ended my battle faster than what Naruto did. Sasuke and Kakashi made their way over to where Naruto and Sakura were at so that they could finish up and collect their payment for the completion of the mission. Taking the offer of hospitality, Team 7 were treated to a home-cooked meal, a shower and nice warm beds. XXX. 5 days later and Team Kakashi was now at the capital of the Fire Country and were waiting for their security clearance to go through and allow them to gain access to meet the Fire Daimyo. Naruto, since you want to become the Hokage, you will have to pay attention here since the person we are meeting is the dun that gives you your funding and missions to run Konoha. You don't want Konoha to turn out like Sunagakure in that your daimyo gives most of your missions away to neighboring countries just because you managed to annoy your boss. Kakashi stated as he thought that it would do Naruto good to get some familiarity with the man. Nodding at what his sensei had just said, Naruto took the time to go over in his head everything he could think of so as to follow this conversation. Getting the nod from the samurai that were standing guard at the front door, Kakashi walked in to get the document. Hello Daimyo-sama, it has been quite a while since we have last met, Kakashi politely stated, yet while still being respectful, as it was the easiest way to start a conversation with the man that he remembered from past experiences. Oh, now I remember that teenager from a long time ago who looked just like you, and he came with Minato-kun to the party I hosted for his inauguration to the position of Hokage. The man who was slightly oblivious in remembering who was in front of him. Yes, Daimyo-sama, that was me back then, as I came along thanks to Minato-sensei, who invited me and his then-girlfriend at the time, Kushina. The silver-haired jonin stated to the man who he was confident in that he wouldn't associate Naruto. Ah, it is such a sad thing that Kushina-chan and Minato-kun are no longer among the living. Oh, if you called Minato-kun Minato-sensei, then you must be Kakashi-kun, the son of Konoha's White Fang no less. Wow, Kakashi-kun, you sure have grown up since I last saw you. It seems that your final growth spurt was very kind to you, wasn't it? The fickle and indecisive man questioned to Kakashi, who just smiled and started his reply. Yes, I wish Minato-sensei and Kushina-chan were still alive, but alas, things can't always go your way, Kakashi said in a wistful tone of voice. While I am sure that you are the fire daimyo, you must have a lot on your plate and be very busy, so I think it would be best that if we handed you the scroll so that you can get on with your no doubt hectic schedule ahead of you. The silver-haired Jonin stated as from what he had learned from the Sandaime was that the fire daimyo was someone that was easily persuaded. As soon as they were done with their meeting inside the office of the Land of Fire's daimyo, it was then that Sakura, since she had free time in Foreign City, did the best thing that she could think of. That was to ask her beloved onto a date. "Hey Sasuke-kun, would you want?" Sakura said to the raven-haired Uchiha who cut her off before she finished speaking. "You are worse than Naruto." This comment completely shattered the girl's confidence as she thought that no matter how good Naruto got, he would still be the dead last of the class as everyone else around him would get better as well. Her delirium was shaken off by what Sasuke said next. "If you have time to prepare yourself in the morning, which takes forever, then you have enough time to go and train," Sasuke said before walking off so that he could go and find a place in which he could build up his stamina and chakra reserves. With new determination to train instilled into her by her crush, Sakura went back to where Kakashi and Naruto were and started talking to her sensei, interrupting whatever conversation that might have been going on between Naruto and Kakashi. "Kakashi-sensei, how do you build your chakra reserves so that you have more chakra?" Sakura questioned to her sensei as right now it was the first time she was taking an active interest in training and she guessed that her sensei was shocked. Indeed, the man known as Kakashi Hatake was shocked. So was Naruto, who was standing right there next to his sensei. Being the person who he is, something that Kakashi said to annoy people was said as he didn't believe what he had just heard. "Huh, you say something?" the silver-haired Jonin asked his only female student. Blushing in embarrassment for a reason she did not know, Sakura pressed on to get the information that she wanted. "I said, how do you build your chakra so that you have more of the energy?" Sakura questioned to her sensei, who had just gotten over the shock of Sakura actually wanting to train. "Oh, so you're actually taking your training seriously, Sakura-chan?" Kakashi mused as he wanted to see her reaction. He was not surprised when he saw how Sakura blushed at the obvious fact that she hadn't been taking her shinobi training seriously up until now. "Well, training for larger chakra reserves is like training a muscle. I am sure you know how the muscle structure inside the body works since you have a lot of knowledge inside that head of yours, right?" Kakashi questioned, to which Sakura nodded in thanks and ran off to get her training started as she had just the exercise in mind that would increase her chakra reserves. "So, you being trained by the Yondaime Hokage, huh? Is that the reason why you are such a good ninja, Kakashi-sensei?" Naruto questioned as he wanted to know what it was like having a Hokage in the making training you. "Minato-sensei was a great man and I would have liked him even if he wasn't my sensei. About your question though, it doesn't matter how skilled your teacher is, well, not at your level anyway, only if you are at the level of Jonin and you want to further your skills, you will need someone with innate knowledge on a subject to get better at it. The point I am trying to make is that, if I had absolutely no interest in training you because I thought of you as the fox, I would be a worse teacher than Irika, your Chunin sensei at the academy, since he would be more willing to help you," Kakashi said to Naruto, who nodded but immediately followed up with a new question. "So then, is there a specific reason as to why you only train us if we ask you to train us?" Naruto questioned as he remembered that Kakashi had never offered to teach the team anything apart from teamwork from the day that they had first met unless he had specifically asked for help. Unperturbed by Naruto calling him out on his lack of teaching abilities, Kakashi had a reply in store for Naruto that would ease his mind. "There is one thing that you and the rest of your team have to have before I will train you to be better ninjas, and that is the initiative to come to me and ask for some training where there is no real point in training. You and Sasuke have shown initiative by going out and learning new jutsus and so forth. What's the point of me just handing out free jutsus to you and Sasuke, other than to overinflate your ego?" Kakashi mused, getting Naruto to think. "I could drive all three of you into the ground just like I did with all of the new recruits into ANBU, but you actually have to want to become a better ninja, or otherwise all of the training was in vain and was a waste of my time," Kakashi said to Naruto, who nodded and thanked his sensei for the insight. "Well then, Kakashi-sensei, would you be possibly willing to train me in getting my speed better, because I read a book at the library and it stated that it was usually the fastest shinobi that won the battle, because what's the point of having a jutsu that the enemy can dodge?" Naruto questioned, as having someone to teach him and solely him was something that Naruto. "Sure," Kakashi said as he put his book in his pocket so that he and Naruto could get down to the meat of their training. XXX
Okay Naruto, you can stop now. You have done enough to make me impressed, Kakashi said as he felt that Naruto had done enough to earn a Chunin promotion just from that battle strategy at the end there. That was something to think about in the near future as they were coming up, and it would be good to get Sakura out of her fangirl state, and hey, one of his students might even get lucky. Running up to his sensei, Naruto was panting hard as he was struggling to keep consciousness since he had just used a buttload of chakra and was practically out of all of the substance. So Kakashi-sensei, how did I do just then? Naruto asked as he wanted feedback so that he could review the fight in his head and find out what to do next time to make him a better shinobi. Well, you did excellent for a ninja who had just come out of the academy only 5 months ago. A performance like that in a Chunin exam final would normally be enough to become Chunin, although I think the judges might be a little harsh given just who you are. Kakashi bluntly stated as he felt that Naruto needed to learn the reality of the life of a ninja. There were even more things that Kakashi believed that Naruto deserved to know now that he was getting much more mature and could probably handle the news of who his parents were, but since he was not the Hokage, he did not have the right to make that decision. Dismissing his musing thoughts, Kakashi watched as Naruto struggled to stand. Naruto, you might want to go and get some food as you look like you're about to pass out from a lack of chakra inside your body which is needed for it to run properly. Nodding at the statement that came from Kakashi-sensei, Naruto went over to where he had placed his backpack down by a tree. Instead of the 3 ration bars and a protein shake, Naruto was now eating 8 nutrient bars and 2 protein shakes. XXX. Over the course of the next 3 hours, Naruto got exercises drilled into him that made his body protest. So much so, that Naruto questioned the level of intensity he had previously put into every other workout. Whenever Naruto would use a muscle to the point of exhaustion, Kakashi would switch the exercise so that he could focus on a different set of muscles and develop them to the point of exhaustion, only to once again change to a new muscle. With Naruto absolute drained of all will to move his body even an inch, Kakashi thought that it was high time that he got Naruto started on learning how to detect, dispel, and eventually cast genjutsu. The most important thing that comes to mind where it concerns all forms of genjutsu is that attention to all of the small details is paramount. Kakashi started off his lecture as he watched Naruto groan and get up, walk over to his backpack and pull out a book that was titled Notes for Learning. Getting over the fact that Naruto was taking notes, Kakashi got back into lecture mode, once which he seemed to do fairly often. The reason why attention to detail is so important for genjutsu is twofold. The first being that you need to pay constant attention to your surroundings so that you can spot if something is not what it should be or in case something is out of place, which are the easiest ways to notice if you are caught in a genjutsu. Kakashi said as he watched how Naruto's comprehension skills were great for someone who wasn't a civilian kid who had all of the lessons at school in comprehension. The other reason as to why it is such an important thing is because you need to have that same level of awareness to make sure that nothing is out of the ordinary in the genjutsus that you use so that your enemy is able to realize that they're in a genjutsu and try and break free from them. Kakashi said, to which Naruto wrote down in his book. New heading: Naruto, Breaking Genjutsus. There are 4 main ways to break out of a genjutsu, but we will be only covering 3 of them since the QB inside of your stomach would affect your ability to do the last one. The Sharingan warrior stated, to which Naruto frowned and hoped that the other ways would be good enough to compensate as he tried to make the best out of tough situations. The easiest way to break out of a genjutsu is a way that you will only use at a last resort if all other means fail, okay? While Kakashi formed this statement in the form of a question, Naruto knew enough as this was not a question at all, it was law. Nodding, Naruto prepared himself for whatever it was. The easiest way to break out of a genjutsu is to induce yourself in severe pain that the messages that your nervous system sends to your brain overload the place where your senses meet the brain and break out of the genjutsu that way. This way is probably going to be the easiest way for you thanks to the fact that you have unnatural amounts of chakra at such a young age. This is to send your chakra out in a concentrated wave using the ram hand sign and break all genjutsus in a surrounding area. Kakashi said and waited in case Naruto had a question to ask about combating genjutsu so far. Getting Naruto out of his reverie, Kakashi spoke up. The other main form of having a genjutsu broken is to have someone nearby and have them inject a small amount of their chakra into your pathways to overcome the disturbance in chakra. Kakashi said as he finished his lecture, but not before remembering something that would do well for Naruto to learn. Oh, this is something that would specifically help you, Naruto. It has been said that if someone has full control over the demon inside of them,
they are able to use the beast's chakra and inject it into their system to flush out the genjutsu. The silver-haired Jonin lectured, to which Naruto looked fascinated and was wondering how he would manage to gain control over the Kyuubi no Kitsune. Now Naruto put the book down, as this next lesson has no theoretical part to it whatsoever, the masked ninja said to Naruto, to which the blonde-haired boy nodded and looked at his sensei to see what the next lesson he was going to learn was. What you will now learn is how to use your chakra to expand out of your body and get rid of all nearby genjutsus. Now what you need to do is just gather 5 shadow clones worth of chakra and expel that out in all directions from your body. Kakashi lectured to his student. What Naruto did not know was that this was also the basic training done for ANBU members who want to attain the rank of captain, as chakra sensing is a requirement, as you have to be sure that no one can sneak up on you. It was not hard for Naruto to learn this. In fact, it was something that Naruto learned first go, and he would only get better at it. Channeling chakra all around his body, Naruto was able to dispel a B-rank genjutsu, as Kakashi had subtlety casted one on Naruto to see how good he was at getting out of them. For someone who was having his first day of learning how to break a genjutsu, Naruto was a genius in the eyes of Kakashi. Thinking about it, Kakashi wouldn't hesitate to guess that Naruto was a genius when it came to the ninja arts. It was just that his early potential was severely hampered thanks to the Konoha education system. Finally, after the hardest ever training session that Naruto had ever been through was done, Kakashi and Naruto headed to the hotel, which had been part of their mission for the first night of their stay in the Fire Country capital. Turning around, Naruto was surprised to find that there were actually people who were dumb enough to think that hiding underneath a cardboard cutout of a rock would be a good enough stealthy approach so that he wouldn't know that someone was following him. Annoyed that whoever was underneath it was highly underestimated him, Naruto quickly used a low-power wind release, great breakthrough jutsu, to blow whoever it was that was underneath the cardboard box out into the open 5 meters down the street from where he was. To Naruto's surprise, there was 3 kids that had just come out of the box, all around the age of 8 or 9. Looking over at them, Naruto noticed that they had a smoke bomb and must have dropped the bomb when they were blown away and were now suffering the consequences of that action. After a while, the 3 kids got up from where they were and ran over to Naruto and decided that since they hadn't introduced themselves to Naruto yet, and decided that they should go and do that right now. Doing a pose that would have shown off any curves that her body had if she had them, the only girl from the trio spoke up. "I'm Moegi and I am the sassiest kunoichi from preschool, check me out," the newly announced Moegi stated with a fangirl-like voice as she held her hand out. What that meant, Naruto had no idea and would just go along as if nothing had ever happened. It was then that Naruto was greeted with the sight of the boy that was on the left from where he was facing. There was a boy that was wearing a dark blue top and had a big loogie coming out of his nose. "I love algebra, call me Udon," the sniveling boy called out as he put his hands into what was similar to one of the poses that Naruto saw those music people use in their TV videos. Seeing the snot coming from the boy, Naruto was highly disgusted that the kid had such poor personal hygiene, but would not say anything as he didn't want to embarrass the boy in front of his friends, as he had first-hand experience in what that felt like and wouldn't make someone else suffer from bullying if he could help it. The final person of the group was none other than the Sandame's grandson, from what the pictures in the library books had when they showed living relatives of the most powerful ninjas that Konoha had to offer. Wondering what he of all people was doing bothering to talk to someone so low-class like him, Naruto decided to wait and find out what the kid wanted so he could go and train. It was then that the third person of the group spoke up. "And I'm the #1 ninja in the village." Konohamaru, the brown-haired boy, shouted out as he proudly stood with a pose, though what he did not know was that he was almost about to trip over his scarf if he wasn't careful enough. Once they had each done their individual introductions, the grandson of the Sandame Hokage along with his 2 friends spoke up in unison with each other. "And when we're all together, we are the Konohamaru Ninja Squad," the 3 kids stated as they posed together. Watching the scene that was being played out in front of him, Naruto wondered whether or not his sensei had managed to slip one of those hallucinogenic plants into his body, which was causing him to watch some fucked up shit going on right before his eyes. It took a while, but the blonde-haired ninja eventually got his bearings right and managed to reply to the 3 kids in front of him. "And what was the purpose of coming all the way out here to meet with me?" Naruto stated, wanting to know how long he had to put up with this blatant form of childlike behavior and stupidity. Not caring about what Naruto had just said to him, Konohamaru decided to reply to Naruto. "My grandpa, the guy who is the Sandame Hokage, promised that you would play ninja with us." The boy pouted as he never minded using his grandfather's fame to get what he wanted, as he was a spoilt child through and through. It was then that Sakura heard what Konohamaru had just said and misheard it, thinking that Naruto himself had agreed to play ninja with them.
What's this, a ninja playing ninja with kids? Talk about pathetic. Sakura said as she could not believe Naruto saying that.
Slowly but surely he was getting better as a person, and then he goes and ruins it by doing something like that. She just didn't know what to believe when it came to Naruto nowadays. Seeing someone insult the person that his grandfather had told him to visit, Konohamaru instantly took the side of Naruto in this conversation, something that the blonde-haired boy was grateful for, as he had never had anyone do that for him apart from Irika on a few occasions.
Hey boss, who is this girl anyway? Konohamaru said, which none of the Team 7 that was in the area bothered to reply to. Being an impressionable kid and not really knowing what flirting and love was, he came to a conclusion. The way that she is staring at Naruto, it's as if she is looking at him with daggers. It was as if a light bulb went off in the head of Konohamaru as he pieced things together. Rubbing his hand on Naruto's back, the brown-haired boy spoke up. Oh, I get it now. Is she your girlfriend, boss? You're a smooth operator, huh, boss? The scarf-wearing boy suggestively stated to Naruto with a grin and a wink marring his face. Not having much experience with the fairer sex to know what Konohamaru was talking about, Naruto had to wait until when Konohamaru finished his sentence before he got what the little boy was implying. Is she your girlfriend, boss? The boy said whilst holding up his pinky finger. Why would I want to date someone like him when there are people out there like the great Sasuke-kun that would be so much better to be with? Sakura stated as she wanted to get the point across that she in no shape or form did she like Naruto in that way. Seeing the harsh dismissal coming from Sakura, the brown-haired boy instantly changed his mind when it came to Naruto's aid. What kind of girl are you, you gorilla? Yeah, now that I think about it, why someone like the boss would want to date such a girl with a humongous large forehead and flat-chested girl like you anyway? There are tons of other girls out there. Konohamaru stated as he looked at the way that Sakura was fuming. When Konohamaru said what he did, for some reason, Naruto's mind instantly pictured Karin-chan from Sunagakure, who was wearing a dress whilst having a large smile on her face. Quickly dismissing those thoughts, Naruto quickly dismissed them and realized the situation that Konohamaru had gotten himself into. You might want to run away, Konohamaru, as it seems that you have bitten of more than you could chew. Naruto said, to which the 9-year-old boy nodded rapidly and turned around and started running in the opposite direction to which Sakura was at. Being the nice type of person that he was, Naruto decided that he should go and follow them up to make sure that nothing severe happens. It was lucky for him that he did that, as Naruto saw that there was not only Konoha shinobi inside the village hidden in the leaves at this current point in time. No, there was a couple of shinobi from the hidden sand village right inside of his village, and one of them happened to be the person that Konohamaru ran into when he turned around the corner in his hopes of running away from Sakura. Ugh, you little shit, that hurt. The sand shinobi stated as he looked down upon the boy that had run into him. Konohamaru for his part was not in any condition to say anything other than grunt. Sakura, being the highly insecure person that she was, she thought that the situation at hand could be best solved with words and not with fists. Hey, I'm sorry about what just happened, I was just messing around. Sakura feebly tried to say confidently as she was wondering just who in the world these people were. Seeing that Naruto was getting angry at someone being bullied right in front of his eyes as it reminded him of his childhood, Naruto ran at Kankuro in the attempt to stop the bullying that was taking place. Amused by the sight of Naruto running at him slightly faster than what he could safely handle if it was a taijutsu fight, Kankuro proudly boasted as he let out a chakra string in the attempt of tripping Naruto. Huh, let's see how good these leaf genin are. Kankuro mused to himself. Feeling something grab a hold of his ankle and try and trip him over, Naruto used his skills learnt in water walking to get good grip on the ground as he made the chakra strings that were coming from Kankuro effectively useless. With the fact that Naruto had managed to shock the puppet user from Suna as he did not trip over like the boy intended, Naruto grabbed a kunai out of his hand and watched how a rock flew straight towards the Suna shinobi, knocking his hold on Konohamaru away. Seeing the opening that someone, probably Sasuke in Naruto's mind, as they had good teamwork thanks to Kakashi, Naruto used the kunai in a jabbing motion to injure the enemy shinobi who was trying to hurt one of his future comrades. Not seeing that Naruto was holding a kunai until it was too late, Kankuro tried to dodge as best as he could but ultimately failed as he got a large gash along his right arm.
Seeing that his job was done, Naruto picked up Konohamaru and used a chakra-enhanced jump to get out of the way and bring the grandson of the Hokage back into the safe area. It was then that a large killing intent filled the immediate area as a boy from a branch opposite to where Sasuke was had made his presence known. What made this even more impressive was that the boy was hanging upside down on the bottom of the branch.
You Kankuro are a disappointment to Suna.
Gaara stated in a monotone voice, to which Kankuro faltered and retreated back a fair distance as to show just how powerful his younger brother was.
How did he? That's Kakashi's level of stealth.
I couldn't even sense him, were the thoughts going through the minds of the Konoha genin in the surrounding area. Opening his mouth to speak once again, there was a definite reduction of noise as everyone was listening to the words of this red-haired boy standing underneath the tree.
Losing yourself in a fight, you're pathetic. Why do you think we came to this village in the first place? Gaara stated in a bored tone as he asked a rhetorical question.
Feebly trying to ignore the pain in his right arm and still keep a straight face when talking to his brother, the holder of the Ichibi no Shikaku, was a hard thing to do.
Look, Gaara, they started at N. Kankuro said as he rapidly tried to find the right words to say.
Obviously they were not the right words to say, judging from the reaction that came from the red-haired boy.
Shut up or I will kill you myself. Gaara stated, body flickered down to the pavement. Reappearing in the middle of his brother and sister, Gaara had to go through the unnecessary listening to the pink-haired girl from Team 7's voice.
With a voice that was quite loud in conjunction to the noises that he heard inside of his mind thanks to the Ichibi, Gaara was not in a very good mood.
Hey, wait!
Sakura shouted as she got the attention of Team Sabaku and got them to turn around so that they could listen to what she had to say.
Judging from your forehead protectors, you are ninjas from the hidden sand village, right?
Sakura questioned as she paused for a bit to get her thoughts right before speaking once again.
You may be allies with the hidden leaf village, but
it is forbidden for shinobis to enter a foreign village without that village's permission.
State your purpose. Depending on your answer, we may not be able to let you go. Sakura said in what she thought was a tough tone.
For Temari though, she was someone that had to listen to Gaara all the time, and what this fangirl, judging by her appearance, was as pathetic in its attempt to make them scared as a newborn kitten was at looking frightening.
Huh, talking about clueless, don't you know anything?
Both Naruto and Sasuke at this part were rapidly listening as to take in information that they probably should have known by now to see if it was something majorly important.
You're right, we are genins from the hidden sand village. We have come to Konoha to participate in the biannual Chunin selection exam.
Temari stated in a formal tone of voice that she had honed after getting lessons on the specific subject thanks to being the daughter of the current Kazekage. Before Temari could go into an explanation about how the Chunin exams took place, as she decided to educate the pink-haired girl in case she didn't know, Sasuke jumped down from the tree branch and started talking.
You, what is your name? The raven-haired Uchiha questioned.
The blonde female fan-wielding ninja thought that this question was directed at herself and blushed at the thought of a hot guy like Sasuke asking for her name.
You mean me?
Temari questioned as she tried to hide her blush.
Sasuke was ruthless in the rejection of Temari's question.
No, you with the gourd.
Sasuke stated as he stared down the container of the Ichibi no Shikaku.
Gaara Sabaku, the gourd-carrying boy, stated to Sasuke, who filed that information inside of his head. Not only was Sasuke filing away that information, but Naruto also was on the off chance that he might meet the guy again. Turning around so that he was facing roughly in the middle of where Sasuke and Naruto were, Gaara replied with a question of his own. You too, Gaara stated as he looked at both Naruto and Sasuke when he said this.
I am also interested in your names. Gaara said politely to both Naruto and Sasuke. With names exchanged, Gaara and his team left the walkway.
Using this distraction as a time to quickly make off with the grandson of the current Hokage being none the wiser, Naruto left so that he could do some training, as he felt that he could do much more in terms of pushing his muscles to the limit than what he had time for in the morning. Not to limit himself to only taijutsu training for the day though, Naruto went to the library to pick up a book that focused on wind ninjutsu, as he wanted to get even better with his ninjutsu, as that was the only real way for him to use his large chakra reserves efficiently in battle. Once Naruto hired the book on advanced wind ninjutsu for people wanting to become a Chunin and beyond, Naruto went to the Team 7 training ground, where he knew that he wouldn't be disturbed, as Sasuke always trained inside his clan compound and Sakura never trained at all. When Naruto was versing his sensei in their battle so that Kakashi could tell just how much Naruto had improved in a short amount of time, the blonde-haired boy found out that his shadow clones could use chakra for ninjutsu as well as being able to transfer all knowledge that they learned back to him, gave Naruto a radical idea that he thought would improve his training by massive amounts. That theory was that Naruto could have his clones training while he did his physical training, and when the clones dispelled, it would be as if Naruto managed to train both at the same time, thus drastically limiting his time training. Though because Naruto did not want to waste heaps of chakra in case his new training method did not actually work, the blonde-haired ninja limited himself to only using 25 or so clones instead of the 150 or so that he could potentially make for the training, as he didn't want to waste chakra for nothing. As to him, it was just as important as money was. This was lucky for Naruto, as the QB sealed inside of him would have used the opportunity to try and take over Naruto when he had little to no chakra to repel the fox's yokai. Reading over the book and finding out that the first exercise that was needed for learning ninjutsus was to split a leaf via converting your chakra into a thin, sharp blade that would be sharp enough to cut through a surface of a leaf. Reading over that it worked best when the chakra was focused into two forces grinding against each other to get the cutting motion to be stronger, Naruto told all of his clones this, who nodded and took the hint to go and each grab a leaf from a tree and get to work on the training. Since Naruto did not have the stones that Kakashi had put the weight seals on, Naruto had to improvise and had found a large rock which was more or less the same weight as the training equipment that he once used before. Time skip, night time. After finishing his training to the point in which his muscles could barely hold their own weight, Naruto rested against a tree in the training ground and dispelled the shadow clone technique and felt the rush of information coming into him about how the clones had progressed in their wind composition training. Picking up one of the excess leaves, Naruto was curious how much he had learnt in a day, thanks to the shadow clone training method. Damn, I was hoping to cut it fully. Naruto thought to himself, looking at his handiwork, unaware it normally took people years to master elemental ninjutsu. There in the palm of his hand was a leaf that had a cut going down the center of it filled with rough edges. Glass half full, I managed to cut half the leaf. Having done his training for the whole day and well into the night after the brief encounter with Team Sabaku and the Konohamaru Corps, Naruto struggled to get back up and make his way. The next day. After waiting the customary 3 hours which their sensei never bothered to show up at, Naruto, Sakura and Sasuke were greeted with the presence of their sensei, Kakashi Hatake. When Sakura had shouted enough that the displeasure from her alone was enough that on a normal team would cover all 3 members, Kakashi replied with the same type of stuff he normally did. I got lost on the road of life. Ignoring the shout of outrage coming from his female student, Kakashi spoke up to his team of genin. Well, anyway, this might be sudden and all, but I have nominated you 3 to compete in this year's Chunin exams. Kakashi said with a smile on his face, although it was not seeable thanks to the mask that he wore over his face. Here are your nomination forms for the exams, though this is just a nomination. Whether or not you want to take the exams is entirely up to you. Kakashi stated as he wanted to see whether or not Sakura would take part, as he knew that she was the one that needed the most work in terms of brushing up on skills. XXX. Walking into the room, they saw that there were many upon many chairs and tables, indicating that they were going to be having some form of written test. As soon as Sakura walked in, she felt heavily intimidated, her senses were screaming. She could feel the gaze of everyone watching as Team 7 walked through the door. That something was the fact that her former best friend, now arch-enemy, was jumping all over her crush in the attempt to get him to go out with her. Ino, opening her mouth, started speaking to Sasuke. I haven't seen you in a while. I've been waiting in excitement to see you again, Sasuke-kun. Ino said in the best seductive voice that she could manage as she tried to win the heart of the Rookie of the Year. Seeing the look of displeasure on the face of Sasuke, Sakura thought that Sasuke hated Ino so much that he wanted to puke. Thus this was why she straight away jumped to the defense of her crush. Get away from Sasuke-kun, Ino pig! Sakura vehemently shouted to the blonde-haired girl, pressing what little breasts she had onto Sasuke's back. Seeing who it was that was calling her a pig, Ino saw that it was the girl who was her competition in getting Sasuke's affection. With a sneer, the blonde-haired girl replied to what Sakura had just said, oh, well, if it isn't Sakura, big ugly forehead as always. Ino said the thing that Sakura was most self-conscious about in an attempt to get her to back down. Sadly, that was not the case, as the confidence that she had instilled into the girl to make her fight against anyone was used in the way that she didn't want to.
That was Sakura using her confidence against Ino. Pulling her eyes back from her former best friend Sakura, Ino couldn't help but lock eyes with Naruto.
"Oh, you've changed." She noticed how Naruto was no longer wearing the hideous orange jumpsuit, he no longer screamed for attention and almost looked cool.
Nice muscles too. I wonder if I can ask him for information on Sasuke.
Before the squabble between two preteen girls began, there was a new voice that entered the conversation and turned everyone's focus on him.
You guys are taking this stupid test too?
Oh well, don't die. Shikamaru stated in a bored fashion before leaning up against the wall. Practically as soon as Shikamaru lay up against the back wall, there was a fourth voice that entered the conversation between the rookie nine.
That voice was coming from the mouth of the Inuzuka clan heir, Kiba Inuzuka.
"Hey, I found you," Kiba called out in a loud voice that got the attention of Team 7 and Team 8 and drew it onto him. It was then that the painfully shy and meek Hinata Hyuga entered the conversation by stuttering a polite hello that was mostly directed at Naruto, who she was struggling to see the former academy student she remembered. "He's changed so much.
It seems that we are all assembled in the same place once again,"
the member of the Aburame clan stoically stated to the group as it was the first gathering since the Genin exams just about 6 months ago. It was then that Kiba saw the type of clothing that Naruto wore and pointed it out to everyone. "Hey Naruto, what's with the new clothes? Trying to act cool and be all like Sasuke team are you?" The boy that had a dog sitting on top of his head arrogantly stated, drawing the attention of Ino, someone who was a major fashion critic. She noticed that he was wearing an olive oversized tee, draping over his body and finishing off the look with baggy black joggers.
Damn, Naruto looks like he got a fashion sense.
Annoyed at what people were saying about his choice in clothing, Naruto was a little snarky in his reply, although no one could tell as he hid his emotions fairly well.
"I've grown since then. Have you?"
Naruto mused, confident that he had grown more than Kiba. Just looking Kiba, Naruto could tell that he was mostly the same.
Not taking the hint, Kiba spoke up once again. "Hey, and what's with the new change in personality, Naruto?"
Kiba said in a tone that told Naruto that he did not buy the new transformation and still thinking that the blonde-haired boy was an attention seeker.
"Kiba, stop talking," Naruto said whilst holding an impassive look on his face.
This action brought a snigger coming from Shikamaru as he now liked this new Naruto much more than the previous one he knew. Damn, he really has changed.
I wonder what caused it.
Her mind was racing a mile an hour, going through everything her father had taught her about psychology, trying to place the puzzle pieces together.
Naruto, you are very interesting.
Before Kiba or anyone else could start speaking, there was a voice coming from a person who was not a part of the Rookie 9 Ninja Squad. The person in question was wearing a pair of circular glasses that framed his face and showed off the silver hair that was in a ponytail.
Hey, you guys should be more quiet,
the boy with a leaf headband around his forehead said to the group of 9 ninja. As the kid who was obviously older than what Team 7, 8, and 10 were said this, he walked over to them and tried to start a conversation. Looking at the man, Naruto guessed that he was in his late teens, early 20s. Paying extra attention to what this guy said, Naruto had this off feeling in his stomach saying that this guy was not someone that he wanted to get into a fight with at his current level. There was also the fact that his nose was twitching because there was something that was oddly familiar with his scent that reminded him of someone whose name had just escaped him.
You guys are just rookies out of the academy, right? Screaming around like little girls, this isn't a picnic.
The silver-haired genin in disguise stated as he looked directly at Sasuke, although no one could actually tell this as he was so far above their current level, it wasn't even funny.
It was then that the Uchiha clan heir asked the funny-looking boy just who exactly he was. Who do you think you are? Sasuke said as he wanted to know if this was another strong competitor like Lee or Gaara.
Diffusing the tense situation with an almost carefree smile, the boy replied to the question of the current year's Rookie of the Year.
My name is Kabuto Yakushi, and take a look around you. The aforementioned Kabuto said to the group of rookies.
Doing what the silver-haired genin had just said, Naruto, Sakura and Sasuke looked behind them and saw multiple people staring at them with contempt in their eyes, as Naruto guessed it was because the books that he had read that it was quite rare for a genin team entering the Chunin exams in their rookie year. They are all from the hidden village in the land of rain, and they all have short tempers. Kabuto said as he used the stereotypes to the max when making this statement that Kiba took his face value when he looked at Kabuto and then at the Rain Village's genin. Well, I can't blame you, after all you guys are just rookie ninjas, you remind me of how I used to be. The silver-haired genin said melancholy in an attempt to gain the trust of the Sasuke, as that was the orders that Orochimaru had given him. This gave Sakura a question that she wanted to know the answer to, and being the confident girl that she was, she asked Kabuto without a care in the world whether or not if this was her first time in Chunin exams. Based on his own experiences with faking emotions, Naruto got the impression that the one Kabuto was giving them was also fake. No, this is my 7th time as these events are held biannually, and this is my 4th year competing. Kabuto said with a bit of embarrassment, as felt ashamed that it took this long to get his promotion. What Kabuto said just now was something that made Naruto even wearier about the guy, as something just didn't add up about this Kabuto person. Sakura didn't have the same unease that Naruto did. Wow, so you must know a lot about this exam then? Sakura questioned to the boy, who just nodded and smiled. He, Kabuto chuckled as he stopped laughing before he started speaking. Then I will share some info with you cute rookies with these ninja info cards. The silver-haired ninja stated to the trio. Naruto for his part was finding even more things about the guy in front of him that just didn't add up. Why would he be willing to give out free info on all of the competitors to us? Does this mean that he has a lot of information on us as well? Sakura, being a curious person by nature as she had spent time with Ino as a kid and developed her habit of wanting to know lots of information, which was probably why she spent quite a lot of time at the library. Ninja info cards, the girl questioned as she had never heard of them before. I have 4 years of information stored into these cards right here, Kabuto said as he gestured to the cards in his hand. They look blank at the moment, but to open these cards you need my chakra, as it is impossible to do it any other way, Kabuto stated, to which the paper in front of him changed from the blank paper it once was. When the transformation was complete, Naruto looked down onto the paper and noticed that there was a fully detailed map of the elemental continent, which showed how many people from attending the exams and which ninja village they hailed from. Seeing the use of the cards right in front of him, Sasuke asked a question to Kabuto. Do you have information on individuals on these cards? The non-too-polite boy asked the silver-haired ninja, and as his response he nodded. Chuckling at the question given to him by the Uchiha clan heir, Kabuto nodded and spoke up. He, do you have someone that you are worried about? Seeing the forehead twitch on Sasuke's face, Kabuto knew that he had just struck a nerve. Dismissing this quickly, Kabuto started speaking to Sasuke. Of course, I do have information on all of the participants, but it may not be perfect. Even you guys, say something about these guys and I will take a look for you, Sasuke-kun. The medic ninja stated as he looked at the raven-haired Uchiha. Garasabaku and Rock Lee was all that Sasuke said, as he wanted to know if there were any weaknesses about the two that he could exploit. Naruto for his part was intently listening as well to hopefully pick up any useful information on his combatants. Disappointed in the fact that there was no real challenge to that question, Kabuto voiced his thoughts to Team 7 before using a jutsu to reveal the information that Sasuke wanted. Oh, so you know their names already, this won't be fun at all. The medic ninja stated as he looked at the cards, wondering what he would find about this Rock Lee person, that his master's future body skin that interested Sasuke Uchiha so much. Okay, first is Rock Lee. He's a year older than you guys. Mission history, D ranked completed, 28 C ranked completed, 12. His sensei is Guy. His taijutsu has improved greatly in the last year. Nothing else is worth mentioning, Kabuto said as he looked over to the other side and started reading from there. Last year he gained attention as being a talented genin, but he did not participate in the exams. Like you guys, this is